This is the D6 generation with your hosts, Craig Gallant.
Wrong! If you're getting any compensation, it's not charity!
Russ Wakeland. Did you put me on a boat with frickin' dragons attacking me and whatnot? Now we're talking. And Raef, Hollywood Granger.
Now that's Jimmy Django right there.
With contributions from Total Fangirl.
Vampires do not sparkle.
And our loyal listeners.
Drago, we made you out of steel.
Welcome to another edition of Rapid Fire, the roundtable discussion of all things gaming, coming at you faster than a heliocourier commuter plane flying into 100-mile-per-hour headwind.
Ooh.
Today's edition is brought to you by all of those fine folks over at Patreon who help us keep the lights on and doing this day after day. And in particular, today we'd like to thank Todd Whitty, Tony Zabetto, Tony Thomas, Brian Emra, and Darren Leeds. I'm Geekly McNerdy, your host. Today our panelists are Russ, Global Distribution Travel Network Wigglin, and special guest Raef, host Emeritus and self-booker Granger. Have Jimmy, have Django, will travel. Let's begin. Issue number 1. One of the many important things to take into consideration when booking a flight to a new location is the situation on the ground vis-a-vis local logistical support, or what the airport choices are where they are. It can be the difference between having a great convention or spending the weekend fretting over how you're going to make that 6:30 a.m. early bird special. Question. Given that there are obviously two major airports that both claim to be in Chicago, it would be important to figure out how close either are to your final destination. In this case, the Schaumburg Convention Center and Renaissance Hotel. How many miles closer is O'Hare to the final destination than Midway? Martin Roche Russ.
60.
John Root Raef.
7.
You are both wrong! It's 23 miles, actually.
That's no big
30
deal.
minutes of travel time with no traffic or snow.
Not a problem.
And it does seem a lot longer than that in a smelly cab at 4:30 in the morning. Issue number 2. The single greatest change in the Adepticon experience this year was the change in venue from Lombard, Illinois to Schaumburg, and from very nice to downright opulent. In fact, from deluxe on-site Starbucks to water features, full-grown indoor trees, and a sunken fire pit fireplace room for relaxing post-con each night, things were downright indulgent. Question. On a scale of 1 through 10, with 1 being the Jack London Inn in Oakland, California, and 10 being the St. Regis in New York, how would you rate the experience of this year's Adepticon attendees, either from personal experience or secondhand tales? John Ray Russ.
I go with tails. I'm going to go with an 8.5.
Henry Russell Raef.
10.
Were you not listening to me when I told you about the TV that was hidden in my bathroom mirror? Not only was that incredibly freaky, but it knocked the place up to an 11, y'all! Issue number 3. Density is defined as the degree of compactness of an object. When we are talking about density, we're talking about how closely packed the components of a thing are jammed together against each other. For instance, a sponge. Not so dense. Concrete, pretty darn dense. Question. Many attendees this year at Adepticon felt as if the attendance had to be down from all the previously expanding years. The organizers, towards the end of the weekend, started to get frustrated hearing this sentiment over and over again, fearing that the perception of their move might be harmful despite an actual rise in attendees. How many unique attendees did Adepticon 2015 have? Arithmetic Russ.
I can't get past your supposition that concrete is dense. It's really not that dense, really, for a material. When you think about something like lead, now that's dense, really.
Algebraic Rafe.
What was it? 2,300.
Well, first of all, it was a gaming convention. All of them think that they're unique. Also, 2,500, which,
wow.
You know what? I'm going to give to Rafe because he was that close, and Russ is a jerk.
Yeah.
That makes Russ wrong! Issue number 4. Although almost everyone in America knows that you should tip a waiter or waitress, at least in America, and has a rough estimate as to what they should tip, 15 to 20% is standard because in the U.S. anyway, they're getting paid an average of $3 an hour, with their tips being calculated by the business that employs them into their stretch for minimum wage. Many travelers do not know who else to tip and may leave a swath of disappointed or angry service personnel behind them. The more socially awkward one might be, the more likely one might not know who to tip and how much. Question. What is the generally accepted gratuity for the staff that keeps your towels fresh, your bed made, and your hotel room neat and tidy during your stay at any convention or other vacation? Winfrey Wakeland.
I'm going with $5 a day.
Gielgud Granger.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
And that would be wrong. $3 per person per night in the room. So when you jam a bunch of stinky gamers into one room, well, there you go. And $3 per person per room, if you think about it as a percentage of your hotel bill, is math. So forget it. That's it for now. Thanks for listening and good night.
This episode of the D6 Generation is brought to you by Lone Wolf Development. Take your game to the next level.
And by Geek Nation Tours. Rise up and join the Geek Nation, touring the world at geeknationtours.com.
And by Audible. Try the service, get a free book, and support the show. All by visiting audibletrial.com/D6G. Hello!
Hello.
Yo, what's up?
Hey, and welcome to episode 164.
Wow.
I know, of the D6 Generation. I'm Russ Wakeland.
I'm Craig Galant.
And in the third chair is Rafe Hollywood Granger.
Hey, Rafe, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Hollywood.
It's great to have you back, Rafe. So
It's
excited.
Hollywood, baby.
Always lots of fun.
What movie is that from? Pretty Woman. Let's not make this whole thing last forever.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks.
Baby.
So today, of
When
course,
dreams come true. Or something like that. I'm
I
making
think Craig's had Red Bull today.
I think Craig has had his Red Bull today.
no idea. You have my ripple. That's right. I'm not going on the air without a taste of my ripple.
Okay. Anywho, Craig and Rafe are a little punchy because they're fresh off the plane, as it were, from Adepticon here.
Oh, please.
And as we record this, Mad Alex is still in the air.
Right. So they've returned from Adepticon, and so we thought it'd be fun. A couple of different segments today about Adepticon. First up, we'll be talking to Rafe about his tournament excitement.
Yes.
Right.
And planning on miniature games in general.
Yeah, and what did he plan? How did he go there? And Craig too. And then later, we're going to get into the details of all the different things you guys did at Adepticon, what the Hotness was, what was going on here and there, what it was like this year, what the new venue was all like, all that cool stuff. But up first, we got to get to all the great achievements. And first, still taking a break from contests. Great stuff last time. We loved it. And of course,
we're in awe still. That's why we're taking.
You heard both Rafe and Craig just joking a little bit about their return from Adepticon, and that was because, well, there were a few travel trials, as it were.
Trials and tribulations, I think, would not be amiss.
Right. So we did a lost chapter in Dunkin' Donuts here. Rafe was kind enough to join us, and we discussed in what might be arguably grueling detail about all the exciting things that happened to get Craig from point A to point B and then back again. And there might have been E and F points in the middle there as well.
Yeah, I think I made it all the way to G.
I think you might have. So have a listen to that. And Craig, how can people find out about the lost chapters? And how can they listen to them if they'd like to?
Well, there's a couple different ways, Russ, but what I'm thinking is you go to the d6generation.com, you look on the right-hand margin of the website, and you will see a Patreon button. And if you click on that Patreon button, you go over to our Patreon page, you see Russ and I and all of our visual glory, and watch a video of us proving why we do stick to an audio medium. And you learn if you are willing to donate $2 per episode or more, then you get all of the lost chapters free of any further charge.
Exactly right. And so that's how you get those. And so, Craig, Rafe, thanks again for joining us in Dunkin' Donuts. It was really, really very nice of you. So, Craig, what's the time now for?
I don't know. Achievements in gaming.
Wow, that was terrible.
Achievements in gaming.
Oh, my beep was bad too there. My achievement noise is all messed up. Anyway, thank you, Craig. So Achievements in Gaming is brought to you by all of our great patrons over at Patreon. Without you, the wonderful listeners and wonderful patrons, this show would not be possible. Check it all out at patreon.com/
I'm back.
The D6 Generation. Welcome back, Rafe. Love to have you.
Oh, welcome back, Rafe. Glad to have you again.
All of a sudden, you asked me a question and the call dropped.
Oh, well, you're back.
My favorite part of that was we never noticed you were gone, and then I heard bloop.
We didn't even
and then
notice
you said you were back.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then it took I was gone for like a good 30 seconds. So thanks, guys, for not even knowing I was gone.
No problem.
Hey, that's great. indeed.
Exactly right. So let's see. Up first, Rafe, what have you been playing lately now that you're back on the air with us here?
All right, hold on. Let me switch over calculating to Google Docs. Scrolling down. Okay. All right, ask me again.
What have you been playing lately, Rafe?
What I've been playing lately is lots of Warmachine.
Okay,
Illusion of the first time. I like
Yes.
Three tournaments.
that.
Equals
Is a lot.
12, count them, Russ, 12 games of Warmachine.
That's a lot. And we get
What do you
all
think?
that's fantastic. We get all those details later in the show, but that is
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to dive into
that
them.
is
I'm just saying the
amazing,
number.
Rafe. That it really is amazing.
Yep. And then I had the fortune to play just a little wee bit of Disc Wars with Craig teaching.
Nice.
And
That's right. I forgot that you were in on
I
that.
really liked it. I was playing the Orcs, and I wished I could have stayed. We had a nice 4-player game with Bob, actually.
Oh, hey.
And it was super fun. And then I went to go play the poker tourney, the famous Adepticon poker tourney. I lasted about 4 rounds there, but I'll tell you, the dinner was super fun because we got to hook up with some old D6G listeners. Hello to Carl. And,
Must have been nice.
Yeah, it was fun. You know what was really fun? You know what was really funny though is Russ. Guess what debate they were having at the dinner table?
Who's better, Kirk or Picard?
It has to do with 40K and it has to do with tournaments.
Oh, Cheesy Armies?
No, close. Good guess.
Going up a pyramid.
No,
Going up
not
a ziggurat.
the famous ziggurat. I think
Ziggurat.
that's local to here.
2 heavy weapons on a monstrous creature.
No.
I'm just naming all of the fights that nearly ended friendships here back when
yes.
everybody played 40K.
Right.
Nope. They were having the debate of how certain missions were unwinnable in the 40K system.
Oh.
So they were just having that debate of how it was unfair. And one of the guys was complaining, and it was that his opponent couldn't win. So it wasn't that he was like, ha, my opponent can't win. He was like, and it was ridiculous. My opponent had no way of winning. That kind of debate. So that was fun to listen to that again. And then,
Did you get that debate in Warmachine
Craig,
at all?
what's that superheroes version of Crimes Against Humanity that Adam Pitzer had us
Yeah,
playing?
that's not Crimes Against
It's Cards.
Humanity. That would be Super Fight.
Yes.
Right.
And it's actually Cards Against Humanity, not
Cards,
Crimes
okay.
Against Humanity.
Crimes Against Humanity is something totally different.
That's really different. And
Don't pay
really,
attention to the game names. That's for you guys to do. That's for Mr. I record all my games on Board Game Geek.
now you know why.
It goes directly
It goes directly from my brain to my phone to Board Game Geek.
Well, you know.
Nanotechnology that works at a submolecular level.
I'm all
Yes,
calculating
it's
this
called
while
Super
I'm,
Fight. It's a very fun game.
while I'm ordering Craig's tickets. Oops.
Or, you know, listen
I
to the Lost Chapters.
multitask at a very high level.
Look, I never
System
said I was
crash.
effective. I just said I got the job done.
All right. I played, you'll get into that later, folks. I played some D&D 5e with my group, and we're playing the same dungeon as you, Horde of the Dragon Queen, Russ.
Campaign,
and
yes, right.
Our players are having a blast with that.
Nice.
And I don't know if I have the right name, but I did the demo for the Fantasy Flight game, Imperial Armada. Is that what it's called, Craig?
Well, that's 2 for 2, Rafe.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not Imperial Armada. It's
not Imperial Armada.
Star Wars Armada.
There we go.
Star
There you
Wars
go.
Armada.
There you go. The
Not to be
designer of which is an avid listener of the show. So let's get the name right.
At
And he
least.
gave us the demo of the game.
Michael is an awesome designer, listener, and demo maker or giver. Or-
So what did you think,
I
Rafe?
think he was technically the producer. At least that's the person who.
That's actually, no, you're right. He's one of the, he's like the main producer. Well, he's a main guy either way.
Yeah.
So
So I
which-
played the game, and I
what'd you
thought it
think?
was awesome.
Okay.
I think all of you space flight junkies are going to love it. I'm not going to buy it, not because it's not an awesome game. I might buy it just to have the Star Destroyer on my desk, but I'm not going to buy it because, Craig, are you buying it?
I already did.
Okay. Matt, Alex, are you buying it? Oh, yes. I'm
Already
buying
did.
this. And every expansion available. Okay. Russ, are you buying it?
I already did.
Russ is
Okay.
the only one who actually has it in hand.
I have a copy right here on the floor next to me right now.
Oh, sweet. So I don't need to play it. I mean,
Okay.
I don't need to buy it. Excuse me. If
I
feel
would
like
agree
playing it.
100%. I don't need to buy it either. And if you're just going for the Star Destroyer, wait until the real, actual Imperial Star Destroyer comes out.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
But the mechanics were cool. It's a predict ahead type of game, which I traditionally do really poorly at. But they made it in such a way that I found it very fun. And I guess I'm not buying it because I'm still angry that I have all the X-Wing, lots of ships, and we never play that. And it just is making me mad.
I know who we is. I play it. I just played it. Oh, I must add it to my notes.
You played it at...
Thank you for that reminder.
Did you play it at PattyCon?
I did not. I've been playing it with Reese.
Cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Maybe Emmy's ready to play it.
Yeah.
She loves Star Wars. All right, Craig, here's the last one.
Okay.
Russ, get ready with your your Google Foo.
All right, ready?
I played The Castle of von Ligwig Schnauzer.
Oh yes, that was a big score last night. Actually.
Castle of von Ludwig Schnauzer? I don't think that's really it.
It's not it. 3 for 3, ladies and gentlemen. 3 for 3.
I don't think that's what you think it is. I think it's the Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
I got Ludwig in there.
With Nora Schwanstein on the cover, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really fun game. If anybody likes Carcassonne like I do, then you'll like this game. You build a castle, and when you build it, it's like a tile. It's like deck building, but when people tell you that, don't believe them. It's not. And you grab these tiles, and it's not frustrating.
I really want to try that. That sounds cool.
And that's what I played.
It got played twice last night.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Apparently, it's hard to come by. I tried to get it at Myriad, but they don't have it or something.
Well, it's a different story.
Well, they don't have anything at Myriad.
Craig, what have you been playing lately?
Okay. We'll gloss over that. Okay, well, our Imperial Assault campaign met again. So I can freshen my memory, compare Russ and Matt as Imperial players. And we got one win, which almost felt like a toss away from Matt. He was like, "Oh wait, look, you guys won, yay!" And then he crushed us so bad in the next game that it actually added a mission to our timeline, so we're even further away from finishing the game.
Ouch! So he gave you the one where you got a Minoc, and then he won the one where he gets an extra Darth Vader.
No, not an extra Darth Vader. He actually puts all 4 of us in prison.
You've won a bonus Sith Lord. Hey.
Yeah. Do you get to shoot through the? Oh no, they were on the ship and they shot. Never mind.
Yeah, no, we're like one level up from the trash compactor.
It's okay. Nothing going on here. All right, go ahead.
Exactly. So I don't know if it. Yeah. Anyway. And then 3 days later, I left for Adepticon. At Adepticon, which we'll talk about.
And then you
later.
arrived 3 days later. Oh, sorry.
Oh, hey now. I played a really cool fantasy skirmish game called Free Blades, which I'm sure I will talk about more later in the show.
Yes,
and I might be disgruntled about that.
Okay,
save it for later. Save it for later.
Right. What's that, Russ?
Save it for later.
Yeah,
I am noticing. I'm not commenting now.
All right, fair enough. Called
I was SETI. I don't know, the designer of Squirrel or Die, a new game that's being published by Muse on Minis, so you can get it at Muse on Minis. We got a demo of that by again, I'm awful with names, but he was a very energetic young man who designed this game, and we're going to talk a lot about it later in the show because, I'm going to mention it again in a minute, but we got our demo of that, and then we played with listener Dan, who was awesome, at Adepticon. I played
that was
I played
fun.
it with Matt and Dave from the Nerd Herders podcast with the listener, and we have that audio somewhere, Russ. I sent it to you, and I know it'll
be on the end as a blooper of this very episode.
Oh, good.
So,
there you go. So there's like a 10-minute.
Yeah.
That's how long this game lasts, and it's a 10-minute recording of playing the game with the designer right there. It was awesome.
So it'll be a bonus at the end of this episode.
Are you saying what Craig records is blooper?
Yeah, it's blooper material. That's fine.
Well, no, Dave recorded it, so
that's fine. So board game night, then. I didn't play a lot at Adepticon, which, of course, we'll cover later. Board game night, I played Super Fight, the game that Rafe mentioned and then dropped. So very quickly, Super Fight is a really funny game where I think I've mentioned it before because we played it last year with Adam Pitzer, listener extraordinaire also. And it's basically a game where you've got a hand of nouns and modifiers, and you're trying to, like, there's a judge each round, and the judge flips randomly a noun and 2 modifiers. So it could be a Sith Lord with a foam #1 finger and the ability to read minds. And you have to, from your hand, figure out what your nouns and modifiers could, what combination could best defeat that guy. And then you're a player on your left or right, and it changes every time, gets one modifier to shuffle into your mix. So you get a modifier, they add a modifier, which is usually bad, obviously. And then so you're like, oh yeah, well, to fight your Sith Lord, I have an Ewok. And it's not Star Wars at all. That's just where my head is. But an Ewok with a lightsaber and well, actually, I'm going to use Bob's example because Bob's example was awesome. Somebody flipped the Doctor, and when it's vague like that, because it's all non-IP infringing, you get to describe like what Doctor. So obviously, the Doctor, and he was armed with the One Ring, and then the modifier that he had gotten thrown into his mix was that all's just cosplay. So it was awesome because it was like, oh, who? I can't remember what the Doctor with the One Ring was trying to fight, but who could argue that the Doctor with the One Ring could not beat anything, and then he flipped over, that's just cosplay. And so it's really, really funny, and it's a very social game. If you're a very quiet, intense group, this isn't going to work because it's all about
you got to role play a little bit.
Yeah, it's all about you making a case. So you're trying to make a case to the judge for that turn. A lot of fun. Warhammer Disc Wars, as Rafe said, I was teaching it to 2 listeners, again, whose names completely fail me, and
took forever.
And then Rafe bailed. I mean, went to play poker
because Craig took forever to teach.
Wow. Okay.
Wow. I thought you were going to be like boom, 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 get in, play Orc Smash. I guess you hadn't played it in a while.
All right. Thanks, Rafe.
You're welcome.
Bus
under
Craig,
the bus,
Craig.
right there.
Bus.
Boom.
All right. Anyway, so when Rafe bailed, I'm not even going to hide it now. When he bailed on me to go play poker, I jumped in and I thought we had a good time. It was a tie, 2-way tie for a win. Anyway, and then Space Cadets Dice Duel, Terrace really wanted to get this going. And he tried to get, basically what happens is we start setting up, at 7:00, people start showing up. And then right around 8, the entire tour of Geek Nation Tours shows up, probably well lubricated and super excited to play games. And they're like, yeah, because they just came back from their last big dinner. And they showed up, and Terrace had it in his heart. He really wanted to command one of the starships on Space Cadets Dice Duel. And he couldn't get quite enough people. So our friends Andy and Matt and Dave all joined in. And I kind of stood there as a sort of a guide for both teams when they did something wrong or couldn't figure out how to do something. And that game was fun and is always fun. Then I came back and I played Planetfall with Russ, and I still love that game, and I wish I could get more games in.
What game is that?
Planetfall is a 10mm science fiction.
The new
yes,
Spartan?
it's
from Spartan Games.
Yeah, it's Firestorm Armada on the ground. Same universe.
It's not even that because it's faster and
no, I mean it is literally the same universe. Firestorm Armada.
Yeah, it's the same universe. It absolutely is.
Right.
We had Neil on and talked all about it at length a couple episodes ago.
Right.
And then I've continued to play D&D Attack Wing with Reese. He loves playing with the dragons. Now, however, he found out that there's little stories, the scenarios that each expansion pack comes with, and he desperately wanted to try one of those, and so I started opening them up, and you need a much larger collection to do most of them than I have, because I just grabbed a bunch of dragons, because that's what he's interested in. Yeah. But we found one that we could do, and it was the Shadow Dragons mission, and he loves the Shadow Dragons, so he loved it. It was a blast. He loved the fact that I had 2 dragons, and he had 1, and he still won. And then I was like, wait a minute, he loves Star Wars Rebels. Right. And Attack Wing is nothing but the reskinning of X-Wing. And I went, oh my God, it's gotta go, great. And so we played X-Wing, and X-Wing is a longer game, and you've got shields, and you've got all that stuff. So the thing about Attack Wing is that, the thing about D&D Attack Wing is that your breath weapons go right through armor. Right. And everything. So it's like, oh, there you go, burn.
As it should be.
And so the X-Wing lasted a little long, and he was like, I like the dragons better. And then when we were out today looking desperately at stuff at Myriad, he was like, oh, Daddy, do you have one of those? We could play with that. I was like, it's a Y-Wing. It's what I used against you. Oh, they're really tough. Are we going to use those next time? I was like, I thought you wanted to play dragons. I like them both. So he liked it more than I thought he did. And then we had PattyCon last night, which is always a good time.
It was awesome.
Look at the Irish to you.
Good times.
Yep. Good times, good turnout. My friends that did try to show up. And so what did I play? I played a lot of small games so that I can wander around a lot and kind of hook into different groups. So Tiny Epic Kingdoms made another showing. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, good game.
Not only am I glad that I played that again last night, but I'm glad that I backed Tiny Epic Galaxies.
I know, I can't wait for that.
Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Because I'm excited to get that. Also, his games, they're very fast. And I know that the designer is a listener, so shout out to him because that's a really fun game, and I can't wait for Tiny Epic Galaxies. Then we played Squirrel or Die a total of 6 times.
Wow.
That game
that's
has
a
got
game
some legs.
I thought Karen would love it because it's very memory oriented.
It's fun.
And she did. She was like, "Oh my god, I do love it!" And that was before she had her little.
Nicole really liked it too. That was a winner.
Nicole loved it.
Yeah,
yep.
she did. Yeah.
Karen and Nicole had a weird thing going on. I don't know. I can't quite remember that. Karen was being all iffy. I don't know. She thought everybody was trying to mess with her.
Yeah, they were. That's
And
part of the
then
plan.
what was the game that we played, Russ, from Stronghold?
Oh, that would be Pictomania.
Pictomania, which is a Space Cadets Dice Duel version of Pictionary. It's so frenetic and focused and intense and scary. You have no idea what's going on around you till the end of the game, basically.
This is a drawing game by Vlada, the same guy who made Galaxy Trucker and Dungeon Lords. So
And
you have to
it's got
understand,
that same frenetic.
if a hardcore
craziness.
gamer were to make a drawing game, this is what you'd get. And it is amazingly cool. I really like this one.
Yeah, it was very cool.
So-
I came in second. Thank you, Chaz.
Yeah, so basically, Rafe, how it works is at the same time, everybody at the table is drawing a picture,
Yeah.
and everybody at the table is also trying to guess what everybody else is drawing while they're drawing a picture.
Everybody else or your team?
I mean, no, there's no teams.
Oh.
6 players, all drawing 6 of their own pictures at the same time, trying to guess. I'm looking over there trying to figure out what Craig's drawn, watching what Nicole's drawn, trying to figure out what Karen's drawn, trying to draw my own picture all at the same time.
Huh.
It works so well on so many levels. There's all kinds of cool rules to keep it from that make it all work. Like, if not enough people guess your picture right, then you lose points. But if you get done soon, you can grab some these little point things in the middle of the table to get bonus points for being the first player. But if you're the player who guessed the most people wrong, any bonus points for finishing early become negative points on you.
Makes
Really
sense.
cool. So
those are some.
it's really sophisticated. It's very
tools.
gamery. There's like a whole bank of things, clues up there. There's 6 cards on these racks with 7 clues each. So there is a huge amount of clues on the board. So you can't really just guess by looking at the clues. You have to kind of get an image of something's drawing.
Right.
And then you got to find it on the rack and then put your card in on the other player to guess which number you're going for. So if I think Craig is drawing a bread pan, and I see that is the third. Craig, you drew a fantastic bread pan. That may have been the best bread pan drawing I've ever seen.
Bread pan.
So as I see him drawing this,
Rafe,
I'm like, oh, it's the third one, so I'm going to put my number 3 on Craig's pile. But not only that, if I get the number 3 on Craig's pile correctly, the first player of anybody else, I'm going to get more points than if you guess it later. So it's a very intense
It's got
game.
all kinds of timers built in. I mean, it's really
So good.
crazy, elegant, while at the same time being completely frenetic.
Yes.
Did Craig get a lot of guesses of bread pan?
He did.
I think I got 4.
He maxed out. He got all those things.
6 to 5. Yeah, 4
And
out
a
of
couple
the 5.
of listeners, Andy and Chaz, are both there playing with us that game, and Chaz drew the strangest pineapple I think I may have ever seen. So it was awesome.
It was funny because you know how pineapples kind of have those scales.
Sorry, Nicole
Rafe?
was. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he didn't draw those scales on it first. He
Yeah,
just
right.
drew an oval that looked like it had the from Castaway. You know, Wilson.
Right,
the
Wilson.
ball.
Yeah.
You know how it had that hair, the palm fronds for hair.
yeah, okay.
It looked exactly like that, but nothing inside the oval.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so nobody was guessing it. And then I looked down at one point, and he had added the little scales, and it all clicked. I was like, "Damn! Oh, boom! Oh, three points for Craig!" Hey.
So Stronghold Games has done it again. I don't know if the game's quite out yet. They sent us an early copy of this thing, and I am so glad. I would buy this in a heartbeat. Pictomania, check it out. It's going to be in stores soon if it isn't already. Definitely a great game.
It was a blast. It was
Cool.
a blast. Although you got to say, the harder the guesses are, the more ridiculous it gets. I mean, it was really ridiculous. Some of those were really ridiculous. There was one card that was Duke, Earl, King. I mean, it's like, how do you?
That's the other
it
thing.
was like president, congressman,
Wow.
Right. It's
lawyer.
It's like there's all the different on one card. All the things are close to each other. So it'll be like butter knife, steak knife, spoon, so you can't get away with just drawing a utensil. You got to really nail the difference between a butter knife and a steak knife, that kind of stuff. So it's really, it's really a neat game. I highly recommend it. If you like party games, this is a great one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Craig, I just had to jump in there and mention that.
No, that's good. That's good. That we can save time when it's your turn.
Right.
And so then a game of Spartacus came out.
An oldie but a goodie.
They were like, hey, Craig, you're the host. You want to play? I was like, oh, my God, yes. So Spartacus with the full expansion, everything in action, 6 players. It was an awesome time. We had a blast. For the first time ever that I've played, all 6 players in the last turn reached 12 influence at one point.
Wow.
So the host was Justin, the tech support for the Nerd Herders. He reached 12, and then I slapped him down. And I thought I got all cocky about it because I knew what I had. And then I had a card that boom, and he went from like 9 to 12, and then we knocked him down to 8, I think. Then I was at 9, and I had a series of cards. Boom, boom, boom. I'm at 12. I'm all cocky. Bam, bam, bam. They knock me down. I'm like, what? But the thing was, they didn't start knocking me down until I got to 11, and then went to 12. So they knocked me down, but I stayed at 11. And then Andy went all the way up, and then got knocked down. And then Andy, our listener, who I was very happy to have 2 listeners come that I've met and got to know outside of, the D6 generation. Both of them have found themselves in New Hampshire without a lot of connections for a couple different reasons. So Andy and his lovely wife Gwen came, and Chaz came, and it was a blast. And even though he beat me in every game I played him in, and so Andy had a theory, and he was like, you know what? I want to pump this up to as many people in a tie as possible for the last turn. So he started using all these cards and raised himself up to 12, but in the process raised me up to 12 and Ian up to 12 from the Nerd Herders. So we were all at 12, and then it finally got around to Pete, our friend Pete, who used a card to knock himself up to 12. But in order to do it, he was Badiatus. He had to sell all of his gladiators. So he was at 12 with 1 slave left. Ian was at 12 with 1 slave left. Andy had Gonicus, the main character for the prequel series of Spartacus. And I actually had Spartacus with a sword and a helmet. And ties in Spartacus go to the arena. And in a 6-player game, it can be up to 4 people. Wow. So it was Spartacus versus Gannicus versus slave. Wow. It was awesome. It was the best. It was the best combat I've ever seen in the game. Because in turn 1, Spartacus went and decapitated 1 slave, and Gannicus went and decapitated another slave. So that it was the 2 gods of the arena, if you will. And we were fighting it out. And he finally had 1 bad roll. He had an axe that automatically does 1 wound. So he was whiffing it because I had the helmet that lets me reroll 1 defense die, the sword that lets me reroll 1 attack die. So I was really in a decent position. And then he used the axe. I took it on my speed because his speed was not so great anyway. And then he had 1 turn where he flubbed it. And what I love about the combat system in that game is it can go either way, even when you're losing. But once you're losing and the momentum starts to go against you, you're wounded. You're starting to, everything's starting to degrade, and that's basically what happened. So it was a blast, and I'm not just saying that because I won.
All right,
probably because Chaz wasn't there. And then I got a chance to play Crossmaster, which I haven't played in forever. So I played Crossmaster on my awesome 3D board with all my terrain and everything. And we played with all the real rules. I don't think I've ever had an actual real game from beginning to end. With this game, I've only spent like $800 on it, but I haven't ever actually played it. So Chris Tharian came over. He hasn't been spotted on Tuesdays in about 9 months. Right. And he showed up. That was all exciting. We played that game. That was fantastic.
Did he have a baby?
No. Oh. Well, I mean, I think he had a cow. No. No, he just decided that he didn't want to, the gaming wasn't going in the direction he wanted it to go in, and he was playing hockey, and he did a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
Okay.
Snowplowed.
Yes, he was doing, well, yes, he's a snowplow driver, and this is not the winter you wanted to be a snowplow driver in New Hampshire, although he probably made a bunch of money. And then the night ended with, there were about 8 people left. 8 or 9 people left, and so it ended with a couple of those games that you can get the player count up high. We played Resistance 4 times.
That's a good game.
Which is always a fun game.
Is that
Or
a
I
zombie
should say,
game?
usually, nope. It's kind of like Werewolf. It's like a sci-fi werewolf.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then we played Bang the Dice game 2 times,
A classic.
which is fun. I went off on a tirade in game 1 about how much I hate being the renegade. I wasn't the renegade. I was the sheriff, so everybody knew like I wasn't lying or trying to obfuscate. But then, of course, in the second game, I was a renegade. And it just so happened that I made it with 1 wound right to the end. And then Matt Alex, who knew I was the renegade because he was the last living deputy, basically like kept pushing his luck in that he was an arrow magnet. And he just kept rolling until he got all the arrows, and we both got riddled with arrows. And that was the most fun, dramatic ending of Bang the Dice game I've ever had.
Nice.
So that's all the games I
That's a
played
fun
recently. Game. That's a con and a game day and a couple of weeks.
That's a lot of gaming there, Craig.
That's a lot of gaming. What about you, Russ?
Well, I'll try to go quick here, but played a lot of D&D 5e. So since we last met, I have to blame my brother for this. So we played the main campaign I'm running, which is the Horde of the Dragon Queen, and the published one.
Your daughters.
And that's with both my daughters, my niece, my nephew, and my brother. So 5 players in that one.
Yep.
And made it a lot farther, which is great. They just finally got to the docks at Baldur's Gate and are getting ready to go to the on-the-road part of the main campaign there, which I'm excited about. Having a little trouble. My oldest daughter likes to wander off. The classic DM problem. What do you do when one player wants to go wandering off and they don't get the subtle social cues from the rest of the party to not go wandering off, and they go wandering off. And the thing was, she had really good ideas. The other problem she has is her character's not a combat character.
Oh.
So she's really designed for doing all kinds of sneaky stuff or other things in town. And so she likes to really play it up there. A lot of the other players are kind of like, okay, when's our next combat? Kind of thing. So it's kind of one of those, which is a little bit of that going on. So then, but my brother over February vacation, he decided that he would run his own campaign just for his kids. And so they got different world, different campaign, blasted them up to level 5. They come back. Of course, his kids are now telling my kids about how awesome it was. And they're like, Dad, can you run a campaign just for us? I'm like, oh. So now I'm running 2 campaigns.
Wow.
The second one now is just by me, and I'm playing this one more. So, there's kind of those 2 styles of DMing. The one style, which is what I'm traditionally am, which is you prep, right? So you come in with more than enough material. You've got everything kind of written down. Every encounter's planned. Every sort of thing that can happen is kind of planned, and you kind of you got everything in a box, right? The other style is there's a lot of DMs out there that play very much by the seat of their pants. They're really good at it. I've always been amazed by those people, where they're just making stuff as they go, or they've got a very rough outline in their head and they're kind of winging it.
That's the way I do it.
And so I decided I was going to try that with this new campaign. So I got this overall plot theme in my head and started doing it. And it kind of worked. It was going along, and I was like, I'm just going to make this thing up there. They started climbing this mountain I didn't expect them to climb. I'm like, I feel like there should be like a griffin nest around the corner. So I just put a griffin nest there. They had to sneak by hippogriff. And so they're doing all that, and I'm like, this is working great. So they both had a great time. Right into the end, we had to stop to paint Easter eggs. And right to the end there, all of a sudden, my oldest daughter went on her little side thing again in one of these rooms and started taking forever, and her little sister got upset with her. So I got to work that out. I'm still working on that. But still having a blast with D&D. They wrote up these new characters. Like, they each wrote up like a 4-page Google Doc and shared it with me. Like, here's my background, Dad. Like, they're really into it. So I love that they're writing and taking time away from, just playing video games to really think about their characters and read through all the books. It's just really been rewarding. Yes.
I've thought about that same problem, too, when a character likes to wander off. Because you want it to be an open world.
Right.
And don't you wish we could have like video game conventions where the door just won't open and
right.
and you just sort of go, oh, I'm not supposed to explore that yet.
Right.
But it's hard. It's so hard to create that in an open world.
It's not even that. It's not, the problem isn't so much that players go somewhere where I'm not ready for them to go. The problem is like the rest of the party is ready to just go to the next thing. So they're just like, I'm going to sit at the tavern until, they've got a meeting with another NPC and it's at night. And they're like, I'm going to wait for that meeting. Meanwhile, one player's like, well, while they're waiting for this, I'm going to go off and do this, and this.
That's a good point. It's a
I'm going to
different.
explore. So like what I've got is I got half the party sitting there waiting, and this other person's like running their own campaign on the side. And I'm making stuff up and they're having fun, but it's like I can see the half the party sitting there bored, So
bored.
Like,
well, yeah, because they're not playing.
Right. So it's kind of like, I don't know how you deal with that exactly. Especially when you're in a city and the other half of the party has literally said, we're just going to sit here in the tavern. So it's like, there's no real, so the party needs to come up with ways to deal with that on their own. Maybe they'll figure that out. Maybe it's just because they're kids. Because eventually you play enough, you're kind of like, okay, I don't want to be that guy that wanders off all the time.
Right.
So,
right.
That could be it too. But anyway, still having a blast with 5e. Let's see. Then played lots of board games. First of all, at PattyCon. Unfortunately, couldn't stay there that long. Nicole and there for a little while.
Why, Russ? What did you have to run off and do? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I couldn't leave the kids at home alone that long. But there was an ulterior motive. I will not lie.
Yeah,
so,
I slipped. It was my fault.
So while I was at
I'm dying to know now.
Well, while I was at PattyCon, so our local gaming store has been having trouble with supply lately. I'm not sure what the problem is, but they haven't had any games in a while. So, I'm like, and I know Imperial Assault just came out this week. I mean, Imperial Star Wars Armada, just came out this week. So I'm like, well, I wish I had Star Wars Armada. I know it was out. Haven't seen it in my local gaming store. And then someone at PattyCon made the mistake of mentioning.
Yes, that was me.
All these other local stores have it. I don't know why our store doesn't. And I'm thinking, well, Craig's house is only 2 minutes away from said store that has it currently.
I believe I said, and this other store has a copy, and they're not even really a game store.
I'm like, on my way.
That's awesome.
Whenever I got the last
and then
copy
did you
of
go
that,
home?
Yes, but I had to go home anyhow. I couldn't stay.
He
goes, yes.
I went home. I didn't play it or anything. It's still sitting here in shrink wrap. Actually, I'm going to bake it out later tonight and then get it ready for Craig and I. Craig gets the inaugural game. We're playing Tuesday together, so I'm very excited.
Oh, that's fair. Okay.
Did play, however, Squirrel or Die, which Craig introduced me to on Tuesday, and then we played it at PattyCon. I have to say, this game is one of those games that's far more fun than it should be. If I describe the rules entirely to you and explain the components, you'd be like, whatever, that sounds okay. But you play it, it's like, wow, this is fun. So, really fun little game. Also, got into, this game, Smash Up. Now, Smash Up's been around a little while. Have you guys heard of Smash Up?
I've heard of it.
I've heard of it.
So
is it a car crash game or something?
It's a card game. And so what the idea is, the Smash Up core game
I played this.
has been out for a while, and several expansions have come out. And the latest expansion to come out, which is called Pretty Pretty Smash Up, was one my daughters just had to have, because this is one of those ones where the box art wins. So the box art in this is like, pretty. So let me just give you the premise. The premise of Smash Up is that it comes with a bunch of different factions, and each faction has their own deck. And there's factions like zombies, robots, pirates, giant dinosaurs, things like that. And what you're able to do is you pick two of these different separate factions, like let's say pirates and robots. You shuffle this deck together and it forms your deck of stuff. So you've now got pirates allied with robots. And basically you play from your combined decks against other players at the table with their combined decks and try to take over these bases in the middle of the table.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and so it's Smash Up because you're mixing together, like pirate zombies or pirate dinosaurs or pirate robots or whatever. So since then...
all got to be pirates?
Oh, yeah, pirates are the best. But since then, they've now released a bunch of expansions. It's a brilliantly, easily expandable game because an expansion is just like, 4 more factions that you can now shuffle together with the originals, and you multiply your combinations by gajillions, right? So they've had the sci-fi expansion, they had the super expansion 9000, which had like steampunk factions and all kinds of stuff. Now the Pretty expansion released 4 non-IP infringing things that clearly are intended to impinge on IP. First, they have the magical horses faction, which looks an awful lot like My Little Pony. They also have in there the fairies faction, which look a lot like, for example, there's Tinx is in there, Tinx, not to be confused with another fairy of similar name. There's also a princesses faction, which has, for example, a frost casting princess named Eliza, for example. And then the final faction is, of course, the kitty faction, which have these giant big-eyed kitties look like right out of your favorite internet cat meme du jour. So my daughters had to have this particular faction, started playing it. And I'd never played Smash Up until I got this. And I am in love with this silly game. It's a lot of fun. The only thing I had to do is there is a mechanic in it. Both 3 times we played it now, we've had one player get hand-locked where they couldn't play anymore. And so we've introduced a house rule that says you can skip your turn entirely, throw away your hand, and draw 5 new cards.
Oh, okay.
And that seems to fix that and keeps the game moving fast. And it probably, for purists, makes the game move a little too fast, but it's a game that really you don't want to outstay its welcome. It should be fast, fun, and light. So, but I'm really digging it. I love the art. I really like it. I love all the different crazy factions.
Purists.
So, yeah. Good. Yeah, there
Purist tournament.
Yes, tournament Smash Up players. Got to watch out for those guys.
Yeah.
So, played that. And then, as Craig mentioned, our Firestorm Armada. Craig and I are playing through the Firestorm Invasion. Planetfall. Yes, we're playing through the campaign book, and we're enjoying that. So that's been great. Played Pictomania both at PattyCon and then at home. And then played, Zia Legends of a Drift System again.
What's that?
The store. So this game is a Kickstarter game. I've talked about it before on the show. It's fantastic. The value in this box is insane. It comes with like 22 pre-painted spaceships that look awesome.
Crazy.
And then it comes with metal
coins.
triangular coins, which are great for like your credits. And it's basically a sandbox sci-fi game where basically you each are you're a commander or a captain of a starship. And you fly around, and you can either be a merchant, you can be a pirate and kill other people, you can go on various missions. It's kind of like Merchants and Marauders in space, or maybe Firefly, but not without the IP. It plays faster and cleaner than the Firefly game, even though I like the Firefly game. It plays better than that, I think. And the components are top-notch. And you can upgrade your ship. When you upgrade your ship, you get even better other ships. And what's cool is you have a card in front of you, too.
What's this called again?
It's called Zia, XIA, Legends of a Drift System. And it's got a card in front of you, and this card is full of a bunch of the card's got the outline of your spaceship on it. And in this card, there's a bunch of cargo holds. And what you can do is that's a spot you can put the little cubes for when you're transporting things around in space. But also, you can buy equipment that it takes up slots. You can buy better lasers, better missiles, better engines, better shields. So it's really got that space sci-fi RPG going on there. A lot of fun. Great game. So can't recommend it highly. You can find it. It's hard to find. It was a Kickstarter. It's way overproduced for the price. It's around $80 on various online retailers. It's probably over $150 now.
I believe it's only available on eBay for ungodly amounts.
But
now.
Even at $150 is still a good deal. The components in there are crazy good. So really like that game a lot as well. So that's all the board games and stuff I've been playing.
Yeah.
What about modeling, Craig and Rafe? You guys must have been doing some serious modeling as you got ready. I'll go first because mine's short. All I've been doing is I've been working on my Planetfall box. I did get more color on my Planetfall. Now the entire Aquan Prime starter helix has got paint on it. Looks pretty decent on the table.
Oh, nice.
And now I got to do a couple more bases in there, but everybody's got paint. And then I'll move on before Craig and I play again. I will have my allies painted up. What are the allies' names again, Craig? I forget.
I don't know what yours are.
They're little red dudes, so they look cool, but I'm going to paint them up next.
Turquoise.
That's
the allies are little red dudes.
So I'm making good progress on my Planetfall. Really feeling good about that. Rafe, what about you? You must have been doing a lot of painting for getting ready for Adepticon and whatnot.
No. As I describe other parts of the show or TLC, I did all my painting and modeling before TempleCon. So I put in here, I pretty much just prepared my Warmachine battle foam case for transport. Got all the models I needed in the right trays, packed the trays, and got all the tokens that I needed separated out for the casters, and I did that kind of stuff, which was fun, actually. It was enjoyable to do. But I didn't have to do any painting or any modeling.
Yeah. All right, cool. Craig, what about you, man?
Well, I had already finished up my Planetfall stuff, but what I didn't have finished up was the new Army Painter has these cool tufts, TUFTS, that they're like little bunches of grass that you can buy, and they come on a plastic sheet, and you take tweezers and just pull them off the plastic sheet. They're great. I've never used them before. I don't think I'll ever not use them again. No, I saw the little flowers, but I'm doing 10mm stuff. So it would be more like giant fruit bushes.
I'm
loving them.
Just on this, I'll be super quick. I used all those when I painted my 5 Kador Ulans that I painted for TempleCon. I went bananas with the flowers and the grass.
Well, your giant Colossus thing has flowers all over it.
Doesn't
it? Looks
little
beautiful.
flowers you squish in,
Yeah. So I'm super excited about that because it actually works great with the 10mm as well. It looks like big clumps of bush.
Oh, it works
bushes
there too.
Yeah, it was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
I need to see this
I am sad to say that I have retired my Epic. Because I needed the carrying case to bring my stuff to Adepticon.
What does that mean exactly?
And so that means that all of my Epic stuff, which I haven't played it with years, but it is all no longer transportable. It is all broken down into possible auction lots and sort of stored away now. So that was the thing. That happened. And I didn't mind. Which ought to give you an idea of where Planetfall is in my head right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then I went and I of course I need to bling out any game that I'm playing to this extent. And so I needed cool acrylic tokens for Planetfall. And there's only one place to get them currently, and that's a guy who runs a little online laser cutting thing called Underground Laser. And so you can just Google it if you want. And so for I think it cost me like $36 maybe. I got the entire token set and the template set and the tracker that you need to track your victory points in the game. And it's all cool. It's all non-IP infringing, so there's no logos or anything on it, but it still looks pretty cool and futuristic. And while I was doing that, I was like, I'm always on the lookout now for 10 millimeter terrain. And he has some terrain that he uses that a lot of people do. And nowadays, if you don't put doors and stuff on it, it can be all kinds of scales. So, I went and while I was ordering all the other stuff, I saw this cool thing that's called a shield generator with 4 shield arrays.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
And I got that. It only cost I think it cost me $13. I think it's on sale now, 10% off, which, I was like, oh, get another one. So I put that together, which was a giant pain in the butt. And all of you guys, you cool engineer types who got yourselves a laser and you're making cool laser things, you need to make some directions for them. Okay? And it didn't help that this guy's super nice, so he throws extra stuff onto the sheets. And those extra things, think about it, it's like a puzzle with 8 extra pieces in it. Because there's nowhere that's addressed. There's no picture of the cool little extra thing that it builds. There's no note like, oh, it also comes with a cool cargo box or anything like that. It's just, here's your generator. So you're punching it all out, and then you're trying to put it together, and you're like, I keep having 8 pieces left over. And then I went, wait a minute, what if I try to put the 8 pieces together on their own? Ooh, cool, little box, nice. So, I mean, it probably added a total of 20 minutes to my evening, but it was a little frustrating. But I think it looks really cool now that it's all set up. It's like 4 giant radar dishes at 10 millimeter, but still pretty decent ones at 28 millimeter, and then, or 32, which seems to be everybody's new thing. And a cool generator that's like this very space agey looking thing. So check that out if you're at all interested. And of course, as always, when we mention these things, if you do check it out, you buy something, let them know that you heard it here. That gives us more power. More power gives you more power, and we can do more stuff for the show. That's another way you can support the show.
By the way, I'm just watching the chat room here, and I think Bob or Dean or someone's talking about Sentinels of the Multiverse here, and I gotta say,
we were accused of not having ever mentioned Sentinels.
I'm a huge fan of Sentinels, although we have never reviewed it on the show. We should. I'm a huge fan of Sentinels of Multiverse. I also have Sentinel Tactics, also a fantastic game. But yeah, Sentinels of Multiverse is fantastic. And as you mentioned in the chat thread there, my brother went out and bought every single bit of it, and his whole family got addicted to it. So, yes, including his wife. Sentinels of Multiverse is great. Sorry, just had to jump in with that. All right. So that was modeling. Nice job modeling there, Craig. Let's talk about other random geeky goodness. Rafe, what have you been doing?
All right. I've been reading the book Raise the Bar by John Tapper. In the bar industry. It's a good read. If anybody
John
likes business.
Tapper. He's got a good last name for that industry, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Tapper. Almost like fate.
Tap with an F.
Oh, sorry.
Tapper. That's not as good.
Oh, it's not as good. Never mind.
It's close, though.
I was going to say, that's the hand of God kicking in there. If you're named Tapper and you're in the bar industry, that's just,
Yeah.
All right.
I somehow got myself back onto my Batman kick, and I was reading all of the Frank Miller universe of Batman, which is, let's see if I can do this here, The Dark Knight Returns, The Dark Knight Returns 2, Batman Year 1, and one series of Batman All-Star, Batman and Robin.
Yep.
And that's all like in the Frank Miller universe where Batman kind of, they jump around in time. It's a time phrase. But anyway, it's where Robin's a girl. It's that universe. Right. And Dick Grayson dies and things like that. And then I was like, I read them all again. Okay. So I went to Double Midnight Comics and I was like, hey, there's probably some Batman awesomeness out there that I haven't read. And they hooked me into Batman The Long Halloween, which is, again, not new. It took me a little while to get into, but I loved the story arcs in there. But the art style took me a little while to get used to. But in the end, I decided I did like it. And Batgirl is all the rage. I think I told you, because they're drawing her like a normal-sized girl, and she's in like college age and stuff. So I sort of bought it to, kind of support that. Kind of just flipped through it and was like, okay, it's really kind of, in my mind, designed for teenagers, both boys and girls. And then, of course, still reading Amazing Spider-Man. I am not happy with the story arc at all. Apparently this has to do with crap. Ian will know all the official names, but apparently there's like 900 million Marvel universes, and some of them are going to die, the universe, and that includes like the universe that has Peter Parker as Spider-Man might die. Yeah, right. Like I'm going to believe that. And, one of the other Spider-Mans and one of the other multiverses will
take over,
come in.
Yeah.
So this particular story arc is just, I don't know. It's like these other beings that like eat spiders. And so there's literally, Russ, there's like Spider-Man from like, I don't know, 50 different universes, like all communicating together and time jumping around. One of them's like a pig. He's literally like he's got a big pig nose and he's in a little spider outfit. And there's like robot spider.
See, at some point you got to jump the shark on this stuff. I just feel like, I don't know. Why make it move forward? Why don't you be like The Simpsons? Just keep it, I don't know.
I'm with you on that. And where they had the chance to move forward is when Peter Parker died, in quotation marks, and they launched Superior Spider-Man.
Right.
And Doc Ock became Spider-Man. Like, they were going somewhere with that, in my opinion. And it was like 30 issues of Superior Spider-Man, which is over a year. Mm-hmm. So Peter Parker was dead for that long, and then they brought him back. Anyway. But I just somehow, it's my old love, so I just keep buying it. Yep. Reading D&D goodness, I've actually never sat down and enjoyed the Player's Handbook like you and Owen were talking about.
Yes.
I've only used it for a rules resource.
Have you rubbed it against your face?
I have, yes.
Yeah, see,
have you rubbed two of them against your face, one on each side?
No, I've only done the one.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a cup of Joe instead of tea.
Okay,
Yep. And then, for some reason, today, I found myself without children and without a wife at home, and it was really enjoyable. And so
you did not watch the Bridget Jones Diary.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
He went from True Grit to the Bridget Jones Diary.
How do you go?
To be believed.
What the True Grit?
I'm going to tell you how it happened.
What?
I'm going to tell you how it happened.
All right.
Okay. So I had a hankering to. Somebody was talking about True Grit somewhere like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, "Oh, that's such a good movie." So I watched True Grit. And then when I clicked off of True Grit, somehow the cursor ended up on Bridget Jones's Diary.
Yes.
And somebody the other day was talking about Renee Zellweger and how she looks all different now. And I wanted to, I had to send out some emails, and I just had to do light work and or other home maintenance stuff. So I was like, yeah, what the heck? So I hit play and, watched Bridget Jones' Diary.
Okay, well,
I love movies like that.
That's
Me
okay.
too.
Hey.
Me too.
Hey.
You know what? I'm not going to take the hit. Or take the chance to give you a hit, Rafe. I'm a sucker for that kind of movie too.
I like them.
Karen's making fun of me all the time.
All right, well,
yep.
I'll own it.
All right. Well,
it's actually a really good movie.
I've seen it.
I
I saw it with my wife date night when it came out first.
Yeah.
All right. So, Craig.
Okay. Yes. Sure.
What have you been doing?
I'm gonna make most of mine quick. Still listening to Game of Thrones. Now I'm on a Clash of Kings. It's still good. I'm still sad where it ends up. I discovered at long last 3 seasons in Vikings, the show Vikings.
Yes, I've seen that advertised.
Now, let me ask
Craziness.
Let me ask you this though. So I tried watching this about a year ago or 6 months ago.
Yeah, me too. And I didn't.
I tried watching the first 2 episodes, and I really tried, and it didn't stick with me. So does it? What got you this time?
I don't know. All I can tell you might have just been the stars aligned or whatever. But I loved it. In fact, I was late tonight because the episode was almost over, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't stop!" Yeah,
I want to like it. It seems like a show I should like.
Well, it's so intriguing from a moral point of view because here, you when they're in Scandinavia, you're like, "Oh yeah, you're rooting for this Viking over that Viking." Then they all go to England, and you're like, "Oh my god, they're just killing and raping at random, and they're awful people." And then they go back to Scandinavia, and you're like, "Oh yeah, hey, way to go, buddy! You're a father. That's awesome."
Well, Vikings, you're either pillaging or you're normal, right?
Right, exactly. And so it's like, I'm still having this quandary because you can't look at them and be like, oh yeah, absolutely. That's like, he's a hero. Cause then he's goes and he kills these old people. It's very intriguing to me because the world that they've put it into is almost like, it's almost established that the Norse gods are kind of real and all of their beliefs are kind of to the point where a Christian monk is actually one of the main characters, and you think oh, he's gonna civilize the Vikings. No, wrong. It's you're like, oh my god, that's amazing. So I don't know why it didn't a year ago. hook me, but now I'm like hooked to the point where I binge watch every chance I get, which is not often. But when I do, I'm sitting down and I'm watching that and I'm loving it. I also got back into from my cruise, Black Sails. I think I mentioned that last. And the second of I have not seen the season finale yet. I saw the second of the last episode, and there's a giant just, oh my God, what in God's name just happened moment. And I was like, oh, don't lose me. But anyway, we'll see. I haven't watched that yet. And then, one thing that I should have put in modeling was that I spent a lot of time with Sam and the gang over at the Games and Gears booth at Adepticon, which we'll talk more in detail
later in this episode.
Later in the episode. But I got some new clippers that are actually designed by Sam, the guy who owns the company, who's a gamer and a modeler.
Yeah.
And they're angled at such an extreme angle. They're designed to cut at sprues. Mm-hmm. And models like
I see what you're saying.
Right. Yeah, and I used them when I was getting a bunch of my bones stuff ready. I got a bunch of bones stuff also from Adepticon that I should have put in the modeling because I just put it together yet. I haven't painted anything, but that's awesome. And I got a bunch of cool brushes, and so I mean they just really the cool story. I have to wait for the rest of the show, but check out Games and Gears if you've got a chance, and they've got a bunch of cool. It was Battle of the Battle Boards at Adepticon. And again, we're going to talk more about that later. I keep forgetting we got a whole episode.
We got a whole Adepticon thing.
That's right. All right. So that's it. I'm done.
All right. Well, I have been, reading Fire still, the second book in the Septimus Heap series. I say reading, but I mean listening to it via Audible, and I'm loving Audible. Craig, if someone wants to listen to Audible and would like to, help the show at the same time, maybe do a little bit of both at no cost to them, what should they do?
You can go to the D6 Generation and find the Audible logo again on the right side of the page. Click on it, and you can get a free 30-day membership to Audible and a free credit that will get you almost any book in the Audible library for you forever and ever and ever, yours to keep no matter what you do. You can immediately cancel at the end of that 30 days with no problems. But not only do you get that, you also get access to whatever sales they're having, which is really, really cool.
Right.
Just really lots of really cool stuff going on there all the time. 2 for $3, all kinds of really cool, like what you really want to do if you could figure it out is time it so that you're a member during the, buy a bunch of these, first edition of a series for $5.
Right.
Cause I can't tell you how many books I have in my library that I haven't even listened to.
It's dangerous. And it's got, the other thing too is not just fantasy books. Like I get a lot of good workbooks out of there as well. Like just nonfiction, just amazing library of stuff there. So enjoying Fire, Septimus Heap, great series. Then I also have you guys been watching a lot of the TV? So I've been watching the 3 sort of geek shows I really watch religiously. Well, 4. Okay, so it's Agent Carter, which now has ended for the season, which great ending. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which has kind of gone in a direction I'm a little nervous about. I'm still enjoying it, but I'm nervous about it.
Is that Agent Carter's with the single actress?
Agent Carter is the woman who fell in love with Captain America, but it's back in, the right after World War II. So it's. Yeah.
I think what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is doing is repositioning themselves for what's happening after Avengers 2.
I think you're right.
Interesting.
I think you're right. So, but I'm a little nervous about it. It's also gotten very, very much gorier, and my kids have checked out. Like my kids normally love Avengers, and Nicole talked about this last episode. They love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's been getting so dark lately and so gross lately that they've stopped enjoying. Like,
what's been gross?
Nightmares. Well, when they flayed the one woman live on camera, that was awkward.
Happening.
Yeah, that was not good. And they've kind of flashed anyway.
I may be one episode behind.
You may be a couple episodes behind. Anyway, so and after that, they've had a couple moments like that when the people are kind of freaky looking now, and people are the weird powers. It's just a little weird. Anyway, so that, but I'm still enjoying it. Agent Carter's still fantastic. It's over. Really liking Flash and Arrow both equally. I caught up on Arrow, love it. In fact, the last episode, oh my God, the end of the last episode of Arrow, I'm like, Nicole and literally sat up at the end of the bed like, no, they didn't just do that. And I were like, can't wait for the next episode. Flash is great. And Gotham is such a good show.
I got to get into that since I'm a Batman freak.
Gotham is, I don't know if it makes it worse for you as a Batman freak, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
They're messing with
I don't
stuff.
know. I don't remember the lore, though, so it's all
Well, you'll know. I mean, I'm not a Batman fan, and I'm a Batman fan, but I'm not like a super hardcore Batman fan. But I know there's things that are happening that don't work with any universe because the ages are wrong and people, But really, really good. Fish is fantastic. She's a new character. She's just over the top awesome. And again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. The guy that plays the Penguin, jeez. Anyway,
he's good or bad?
Great, amazing. Carries the whole show. Actually, everybody's good, but he carries the whole show. So that's really enjoying all those shows still. So good. It's really a nice selection of geek TV, I have to say. Not a lot of sci-fi right now, but the
how are you watching it? Are you watching it through Hulu? Or?
I watch most of them either through Hulu or through Xbox. So if I get too far behind, I'll catch up with them on Xbox Live. And
Hulu or Hulu Plus?
Hulu Plus. I do subscribe to Hulu Plus, so I get my. So for $9 a month, I can watch all the shows I can consume. So so I'll do that. That makes sense because it's basically the price of one series. So
definitely.
As long as I can watch one series, which is great. I watched Gotham and Flash all through Hulu. I was behind on Arrow, so I've been catching up on Arrow with Xbox.
Yeah,
so that's been great.
I have one follow up when you're done, by the way.
Yeah. So I'm off the superhero thing. You got a question about that?
Well, no, but maybe it's a neat segue. So I discovered Matt Alliston. You might have heard that name every now and again. He goes out to Gen Con with us or meets us there. He introduced me to this game called Marvel Puzzle Quest. Oh. Have you heard about that one, Russ?
Is this an app or is this a board game?
Yeah, it's an iPhone game.
Yeah.
I'm sure Android has it too.
Yep.
But I can't explain it and do it justice. Just kind of Google it. But what you do is you match it's like playing Bejeweled.
Yeah, it's Puzzle Quest, but with Marvel. So Puzzle Quest is a classic game.
I didn't even hear Puzzle Quest before. But yes, okay. So it's Puzzle Quest with Marvel. But the cool thing is I went ahead and paid real money to buy the crystals to create an alliance, which I've named Pod Heroes. So anybody out there playing Marvel Puzzle Quest, I can't invite you. You have to search for it and then go, hey, I want to join. And then I can go accept.
All right, cool.
All it does is what's so cool about this, guild or alliance is you don't have to do anything. It's just that if you're in the alliance, we all get boosts and benefits.
Oh,
so I wanted to make a shout out.
All right.
Yep.
So I have two shout outs to segue on that. First, a shout out to my cousin Brent Wakeland, who is in the traveling production of Beauty and the Beast. We went down to Connecticut and saw him. And cool. what a fantastic production. It's really, really great. He's, of course,
What's
great.
What's he do?
Well, he is he's normally one of the villagers, and he's one of the dancing plates or forks or something. But he's also the understudy for Cogsworth, and he's the understudy for Monsieur Dark, who's the guy who tries to Gaston bribes to take Belle's dad. And
Ad house guy, right?
Yeah, and he happened to be... Oh, and he's also the bookseller. He's regularly the bookseller, too, which is fantastic. The guy says, you like it that much? It's yours. So but he was great. But it's really amazing to watch him because the dancing on the stage when he's in the village and they're clinking the mugs together and they're all over the place. It's like, I don't even know how they don't kill themselves, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's cool.
But the production was great, and he actually... Monsieur Dark was out that day, so we got to play him, and it was great to watch him there. So just a shout out to them and all the guys. And I happen to know that a couple of his friends, or at least one of them, is a listener of the show because he was teasing me. I'm like, oh, well, cousin, you're famous. He goes, not as famous as you. This guy is like a big fan of your show. So I was like, oh, that's pretty funny. So thanks for listening. But it was pretty funny. But yeah, so that was funny. That was a great production. So if Beauty and the Beast comes to your town, I would check it out. It's really good. And also I want to thank... So Craig was
listener
at Adepticon.
Gary, and I'm 99% sure that's your name, and if it's not, I'm me. So, but from Ireland, who was very, very nice and actually had some little tokens for us. He gave us some really cool shamrock pencils for our children.
Yeah,
that's cool.
And he gave me. This is how I know that he's a longtime listener. A worry stone from Ireland, which is awesome because it's actually the second one I have. I bought myself one and then lost it, and so now I have one that I carry around with me. And thank you, Gary, if that is in fact your name.
It was a very nice gift, and just so you know, nice. My girls both sharpened them right up, and they used them on the D&D characters today, as a matter of fact. So
Reese sharpened his right up and then put it away, but he did want to sharpen it immediately.
They're very cute, and my wife, being her heritage from Ireland, was really appreciative of that. So it was very nice. Thank you very much for that, Gary.
Absolutely.
So is that achievements? Holy
I think
mackerel.
where
if
did all
it's
the
not,
achievement
then we
bleeds?
should probably.
Jeez, that's why we had to break out
intermission.
Adepticon, because like there's a whole other show here on Adepticon.
Yeah.
So
I
stay
know.
tuned.
Achievements Mongo edition.
Stay tuned for more of that. Hope you like it.
In a world where board gaming was king, in a time when Kickstarter ruled the web, when every day brought more and more games, now, more than ever, two men, and a revolving third chair, and a girl, a total fangirl, brought a shining light into the darkness so that all mankind would know what to buy. They are the D6 generation.
Oh, hey, that sound means it's time to talk about our friends at LoneWolfDevelopment.com, or I guess it should be wolflair.com, which is where where all the wolves
which
live.
is where Lone Wolf Development can be found.
Right, which again, when we say all the wolves, we mean really one, because he is the lone wolf.
Because he's lone. Yes.
Right. So our friends at Lone Wolf Development make fantastic software for gamers. My original favorite, and honestly, I never thought they could exceed their initial triumph, which was Army Builder, which is my favorite piece of software of theirs. It was until recently, because it allows me to quickly crank out lists for miniature war games. You know those miniature war games that are so complicated where you can pick different kinds of equipment for each character, but there's rules about how much the guy can have. And then when you're building your army out, there's different rules about, well, if you have 3 of these guys but not 4 of those guys, then everything's illegal. And it's all handled by Army Builder. All the stats come up, printed. Elegantly. But then they blew me away. They not only released Hero Lab, which is a great way to create your characters for various role-playing games, and of course, Card Builder. But now they have a Card Vault. Now they have Realmworks, which is my new favorite as a role-playing gamer and as a GM. I am in love with Realmworks, Craig. There is no easier way to organize your campaign, to pop pictures up. My kids have never experienced D&D without the pictures popping up behind me on the screen showing, you're about to be attacked by winged humanoids, and a picture of them comes flying up on the screen, and then I show them the map on the screen, and then I keep track of all the stuff on a phone, whether I'm carefully planning my campaign and got all the different things mapped out in there, or if I'm just recording on the fly. It's very, very quick and easy to quickly create a name on the fly, pop it right in there. Remember, I'm going to come back later and flesh out this innkeeper because I think she's going to be important later.
And they listen to to their users also, because they've just announced that they've completely they've added a whole new thing where your story almanac and your world almanac, which I don't even know what those are, but basically it's a whole new way for you to organize everything you're adding, because apparently you can get awkward when you add a whole bunch of details, and it's a whole new organizational tool that they've added just because people were having they're having so much fun, they're putting so much stuff into it that they're having a hard time finding it. There's a whole new solution for that. So these guys are listening to everything that people are saying. They're constantly adapting. They're very agile as a company, which is great.
Yeah, I noticed that exactly right. So they got a new thing now. It's like Rules Almanac and World Almanac. What's cool about that is now, before I was creating all the monsters, right, with all their stats, in with like all my NPCs and all my other stuff, and it was getting kind of long. And now by putting the monsters and, like, say, spell effects over there in the Rules Almanac, it's kind of like saying, these things are just generic rules. They're not really specific to my campaign. I'm putting them over here. And then I can have my rules over there, but they can still cross-reference and link. So I can say, Himdall, who is a half-orc, well, it links over to half-orc, which is in the Rules Almanac, and shows it all instantly. So it's really, really cool. Sounds confusing, but it's really very simple. I'm really loving the tool a lot. For that and all the other cool software, head on over to wolflair.com and check out our friends at Army Builder and Lone Wolf Development. And now, in an attempt to bring a small amount of dignity and decorum to this otherwise base form of entertainment, and I use the term loosely, I am proud to present... Oh, get on with it. It's time for App of the Ep. Seriously, Wakeland, I used to have my own segment, and now I'm relegating to announcing this pap. Hey, you're lucky we still use you. Hey, and welcome to another App of the Ep. This time around, I want to talk about Sid Meier's Starships. That's right. The new Hotness out for both PC and iPad. Noted it is iPad only. Unfortunately, it does not play on other smaller iOS or Android devices. And of course, Sid Meier is well known for his Civilization series. And Starships is his latest effort in this realm. I was really, really excited about this game. The premise is that instead of building civilizations like Civilization Beyond Earth or Civilization on a planet, now you are building civilizations among the stars from planet to planet. And there's been a lot of different 4X games like this, but the big deal was it was turn-based, and it has turn-based tactical starship fleet combat, which sounded pretty cool. So I dove right in when it came out. It was, I can't remember how much it was, $10, $12, $13, anyway. Sort of a reasonable price for sort of a AAA title on the iPad, if you will. And the attention to detail in this game is amazing. What I really like about it is as you work on each of your planets, you can terraform the planet, you can add more cities, you can add star bases. And as you do that, even when you're zoomed out at the high-level map view, you can see these changes taking place on the planets. More and more sort of city lights appear on the planet, and more details come in. Really, really beautiful. Also, you can upgrade the ships in your fleet, and as you do so, the actual ship shape and structures on the starships each individually change, which is really, really cool. There are different races and there are different factions taking over the galaxy, and there's diplomacy and trade and everything else. But what I really like is the combat system. And so when two fleets engage, you have different sets of weaponry. It is turn-based. It does feel very, very much like a Firestorm Armada or maybe a Battlefleet Gothic, where you are moving in amongst different types of terrains, lots more asteroids and other celestial phenomenon that you might expect in real life, but it gives you nice tactical options. And what I also like is the torpedo system is fantastic. So very much like when we reviewed Leviathans, or if you remember Battlefleet Gothic, where the torpedoes fly out and they're sort of markers on the table and they keep going and they sort of lock down maneuver lanes. That is very much in this game. You fire your torpedoes and you see them go out. They do a lot of damage. You can fire more than one and intersect the enemy as you upgrade your ships, add better and better torpedoes. This is really cool. There's cool stealth technology and sonar or radar technology, I guess, scanners to kind of detect where the enemy is. So a lot of cool space combat. The one thing about the game, though, that kind of takes it away from me is I really want to have multiple fleets in a game like this. I think to feel like you're really managing an interstellar empire, you need to have the feeling there's more than one fleet. And what's kind of weird about this game, and I'm not sure why they made the design decision, it seems to me so far all the games I've played, you only manage one fleet. Now, this fleet can get pretty large, quite a few capital ships. I should also say it's really cool because your capital ships can launch, you can build fighter bays in your capital ships and launch little squadrons of fighters and send them around. So it's kind of like, what you might imagine Star Wars Armada to be like. So it's really, the tactical combat is really, really cool. I just wish I had more than one fleet. So I'm only managing one fleet. It feels like 1 minute I'm defending one side of my galaxy, then I got to race all the way over the other side of the galaxy to defend. So it's that's a little weird. I feel like if I'm a multi-planet, galactic empire, I might be able to separate my fleet into smaller fleets or build several different fleets. And if that feature's there, I haven't stumbled upon it yet. So that takes away from the overall galaxy spanning portion of me, which is a little too bad. But the actual space combat is really, really good. And I think I haven't quite decided yet, but I think it is worth the price of admission just for the space combat and just for leveling up your ships. There's not quite as much meat here as I might expect in other Sid Meier games. So like you almost think the depth in something like, and the unit types in something like Civilization is just really, really extensive. This game is obviously the lighter version of that. So if you're looking for a really, really deep, super immersive, stick with Beyond Earth. My other ding against this game is because it doesn't run, it's too bad it doesn't run on the phone itself. It's a shame it needs the iPad. So what's happened in recent years is because PCs have become more and more portable, I mean Windows-based laptops, it's almost like I could have my iPad with me and play Starships, but at that point I might as well break out my Surface or my Ultrabook and play some Beyond Earth, play a real Civilization game, the full boat, if this only played on my phone, maybe an iPhone 6 Plus or a larger phablet or something, that would be great. Because now when I'm waiting in line at the movie theater or I'm waiting at the restaurant, I can get a couple quick turns of starships in. So I really do hope they take this and come out with an iPhone version or an Android version, because I think this game would really shine on the phone itself. I think requiring a PC or a full-on tablet like an iPad is a little heavy for how light this game really is. See what I did there? Light, bad tablet. Anyway, worth a look if you do like Sid Meier's stuff and you like tactical starship combat. This game's got some good stuff to offer. I just wish it was a little deeper. So there you have it. Starships by Sid Meier. Thank you for listening to another scintillating edition of App of the App. A segment in which, hey, less of that, more just getting on with the show. Seriously, Wakeland, you are like school in summer. No class. Hey, and welcome back. And now, since Mr. Granger and Mr. Gallant are two esteemed, intrepid field reporters, went off to...
Certainly intrepid.
Yes, went off to Adepticon 2015 at the brandy new venue. We'll talk about all that stuff later. But for now, I thought it would be great. We haven't in a while. Craig, when was the last time you actually played in a miniature gaming tournament?
That would be a long time.
Yeah, me too.
Day Baltimore.
Yeah. But Rafe just played in some, and I know Craig, when you were going to Adepticon,
no, Rafe, because I've been in Warmachine ones.
Yeah, since then. But it's still been years, right?
Yeah,
at least for
it's been years.
Me too, for an official tournament. But Rafe went off and played in some tournaments. I know, Craig, when you were going to Adepticon, you did do a lot of preparation to decide you wanted to play certain miniature games you did actually want to bring to the table there. So
this
I thought
year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about how you guys decided which miniature games you wanted to play at Adepticon, since it's primarily
I'm rubbing
miniature.
my hands together in Wakeland fashion.
Yeah, so
okay, he's all excited.
So first, for both of you, really. So how did you decide which miniature games you were going to play at Adepticon? It's grown to so many different game systems, and there's new Hotness there. There's old classics. There's games that are technically no longer made but still played there. So what did you guys what kind of thought process went through your mind? Is like, this is what I want to play when I go to Adepticon this year.
All right, can I talk now?
You can, yes.
Okay. Interrupt when you're bored, Russ.
Okay, will do.
All right. I'm stretching out. Okay.
Here we go.
Don't know what came over me, but I had the best time playing in tournaments, and I'm speaking about the tournaments specifically.
Okay.
So
you decide. Wait. So before you get to how the
I'm
tournament
not going to go
was,
there. I was going to go with prep.
I want to say, how did you decide that this year you wanted to play in a tournament?
I don't know, but this is how I decided.
Okay.
I wasn't getting enough Warmachine in.
Yep.
And over the past 6 months or so, I would travel with my good friend Doc and my Ohio buddies who all play Warmachine for other business, for law-related business. And then at nighttime, we'd go down in his basement. He's got a nice basement, and we played Warmachine. And I'd go, why don't I play this game more? This is so fun. So Doc has his ways. He understands, like Craig and now, strangely enough, Matt Alex, understand Rafe speak. Doc understands Rafe behavior. It went like this. Russ. Doc sent me an email and he's like, hey, you're going to Adepticon. I've signed you up and we're going to pay for your plane ticket. End up, he didn't have to do that, but I'm like, okay. I'm like, what are we doing? It's like, we're going to play in some tournaments and you'll have fun. And he just kind of made the decision for me. And ever since then, it was fun. So we so we would talk.
So it just took the stress of the decision making right out of the equation
the table.
for you.
He totally did. He was like, "You're coming. It's going to be great. We're going to play in some tournaments." Because he and his friend Tyler, my friend too, but they're pretty competitive. I think Doc finished 15, top 15 out of the total masters.
Wow.
Yeah,
so he did pretty well. I mean, he did well enough that if any of the top 8 didn't show, he might have gotten called on to play.
Yeah. So
anywho, so what he did was he took all of that decision making out of it. I cleared my calendar, and then when it was time to register, he got on the phone with me and he's like, "Okay, here you go, log in." Yep. He's like, "Okay, register for this Privateer Press bundle," because the way they did it is, you could buy the events individually. And by the way, that's the really cool thing about Adepticon, because rewinding the clock a little bit, you may recall, Russ, Doc flew out to here to go to TempleCon
right, yeah,
in Rhode Island for the team tourney.
Right.
And that actually, now that I'm talking to you, is probably what whet my appetite for Adepticon. Because we prepared. It was me, Doc, and Dave, Team Tourney, Warmachine. We had lists prepared. We had a couple conversations about what we were going to do. We get to TempleCon, and we are first on the waiting list for TempleCon. We're like, we're in. And they call the tournament, and okay, everybody line up. Oh, no, never mind. We're not taking any more people. Tournament closed. And we didn't get to play. And we think there's some shenanigans there, but that's for another story. We were actually the three of us were more disappointed than we thought we were.
Right.
So I was kind of geared up and ready to play tournament, and I didn't get to play. And Doc reminded me, he goes, hey, Adepticon, when you register, you're in. Right. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Go Adepticon. So he logged me in months and months and months before, and we bought this sort of bundle, and it was the Masters Tournament. I'm like, how am I going to play in the Masters Tournament? I'm going to get crushed. It was this thing called Iron Gauntlet.
Yep, I know Iron Gauntlet well. Yeah, so that's the one.
Iron Gauntlet.
Iron Gauntlet's the one where it's basically play casually all weekend and get some points.
No. That's Iron Arena.
Oh, Iron Arena.
Too much iron.
Right.
Too much iron.
Well, it is.
It's heavy metal. I get it.
Full Metal Fantasy, right?
This was Iron Gauntlet.
Yep.
Iron Gauntlet was you had to bring 3 lists.
Yep.
You had to play each list at least once.
Okay.
That enabled you to play one list twice for 4 games.
Yep.
The top 2 pairings, might have been top 4 pairings, were then secreted away into a separate room with a judge, and they had to build a 75-point list out of the 3-point lists that they brought.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was Iron Gauntlet. So I played in that. And then the third thing I played in was the Old Man Tourney, which is officially called the Senior Pro Tour.
Which I thought was hilarious. We'll talk more about that event.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that.
That's awesome.
But we're talking about prep.
Yeah.
And so that's how we prepped me there. Is he got me on the phone and we bought the bundle.
Okay. So hang on. So now you've established why you are going to Adepticon and which events you're going to play. And I'm going to ask you how you in a second. So Craig.
Yes.
You were going to Adepticon. Now what were your motives and how did you decide on what miniature games you were going to do?
I mean, my motives for going to Adepticon is always we go for the show.
Right.
And we go for the Sunday
board game night. Right?
Board game night.
Right.
And so it's very intriguing to me that I was introduced to Adepticon by the Cold Steel Mercs as a last minute member of their 40K team tournament team. Years and years and years ago. I've played 40K there.
Yes. You were victorious over 40K radio.
That is true.
Back in the day.
The
original hosts, you were defeating them.
Indeed.
Yeah,
right. So I love the fact that it's mostly miniatures, but it's very ironic because we go out there for board games, for the podcast board game.
We're rebels like that. We
right,
like
exactly. But I've tried to do like miniatures every time, especially recently. There was the infamous Dust year where Russ and I went with almost nothing and bought entire armies.
Last year was the Dead Zone year, right?
Yeah. And last year we went with Dead Zone armies. And so this year I was like, well, you know what? If I'm going with the new Hotness, then that for me would be Firestorm Planetfall.
Yes.
So I really kicked my own butt to get my models finished and painted to get the whole thing done.
His Planetfall models.
My Firestorm Planetfall army that I had so far. Now I just almost doubled the model count yesterday, but
your stuff came in. That's awesome.
Yeah, stuff came in. Yay, War Store.
Yeah.
Actually ordering stuff, well, anyway. So a little bitter. And so and let's say Phil and Bob, who have Firestorm Armada podcast, which I should know the name of, but at the moment it's escaping me.
It's called Phil and Bob's Firestorm Armada podcast.
Oh, that's what it is?
No.
I don't think that's
That's Raef you're talking to.
Yeah. And Firebase Delta. There you go. Google. And anyway, so Bob, who of course is a huge, long time, one of the very few people I will actually use the term fan when referring to of the show, because I just think there's absolutely no doubt in anybody's mind, including his. And he, and of course Phil of old time 40K fame, is a listener of the show, longtime listener of the show also. And Bob told me Phil was going to have his Planetfall. So I was like, then I'll bring mine. Right. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. And he russed me. That's a new verb.
That's not a, what?
And so, man. So I got there. I found them at the tournament, at the Firestorm Armada tournament, which was awesome. By the way, there's like 28 people playing there. Awesome looking fleets. It was great. I was like, Phil, I got my stuff. Oh, I didn't bring mine.
Oh,
he russed
seriously?
You.
So and so nobody had theirs.
So nobody you prepared. So you were thinking the new Hotness. You didn't sign up for the event though, because you just
there was no event.
Oh, I thought you said there was.
There was no Firestorm. No, there was no Firestorm Planetfall event.
Oh, it was Armada event, right? Sorry.
It was Armada event. What I thought, I brought terrain and everything.
Yep.
Okay, I thought we were going to be able to have
this Adepticon.
This Adepticon.
I had no idea that you even had models.
Oh yeah, we've been playing.
Wait. My models did see the light of day, but anyway.
Oh, good.
So I wanted to have like some kind, like a cool little exhibition game. I was thinking in my head, and it would be really neat to play Phil, because I've been wanting to play Phil since 40K Radio, and it never turns out, it never works out. And we're bringing different armies every year, and I thought this was the year, and so I painted him up, and this is how much I like Firestorm Planetfall. I dumped all my Epic stuff out of the Epic case.
That's
specifically to make room. I know, I did feel kind of bad. But at the same time, it was invigorating. And so that I would so I completely repurposed my old Epic transport for Planetfall.
Planetfall, nice.
And I brought it and didn't get to play. But that's okay, because I was talking to Sam at Games and Gears pretty much all weekend long, and I was lamenting the fact that I had this 10 millimeter. Now they have a 10 millimeter board. They make big battle boards that are now, GW used to make the only one, and now there's a couple people making them.
Right.
And I was in on another Kickstarter, but bailed at the last second because it felt kind of shady the way they were doing their fulfillment dates. And when I saw the Games and Gears one, I jumped on that, got a 28 millimeter board from them that like should be in the mail right now. Had no concept of a 10 millimeter, but why would I ever want a 10 millimeter urban board? No idea. And then Firestorm Planetfall came out, and I was like, no, damn it. So they actually had one on display. It was awesome. I didn't get a chance to look at it like in person because it was always being used at some other location. But while I was talking to Sam, they were setting up the 28 millimeter board for a display, and he said, well, actually, if you look at it carefully, you could actually use the 28 millimeter as a 10 millimeter one. It's just got wider roads. And I was like, oh. And he's like, actually, do you have an army? You said you had your army. And I was like, yeah, I brought my army, and I'm not going to be able to use it. We'll bring it down, and we'll put it on display all day Sunday. So my army was on display all day Sunday on the 28 millimeter board. I got a heck of a lot more exposure than you did.
That's good.
I beg to differ.
All right. Well,
anyway.
All right. Well, cool. Well, okay. So you decided you're going to. So your basic plan was, I want to play new Hotness. You're excited about
new
it.
Hotness, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm super excited for Rafe that he committed to his old love and rekindled it.
Yeah. So Rafe. So now that so let's go back to your prep. So now. You are so Craig. Basically, you prepped by painting everything you had. So you wanted to. So you used this event.
I didn't have a lot. I painted it all.
But you used the event as sort of a motivator to finish your starting stuff, right?
Exactly.
Which is great. I try to do it. That's a great way to get done. So then, Rafe, you meanwhile have been signed up for all these events. Mm-hmm. Had you played any of these formats before, or were they all new to you? All new.
Oh, well, I mean, Steamroller, but I didn't even have the missions memorized.
Right. So you're going in there. Are you like, OMG, I don't know which lists to play? I mean, how did you kind of decide?
I was very nervous and anxious. Not joking. I was like for real nervous about it. And because also those of you who don't know Doc, he's very relaxed. So this is me calling Doc a week before. I'm like, what do I need to do? He goes, you got to bring 2 lists. I'm like, okay. He's like, and remember, you can't use like a special character twice. I'm like, oh my God, that's right. I forgot that. So that means like if you take Behemoth, who's a character jack with Vlad, you can't take Behemoth with Sorsha.
Or Vlad again either. It has to be 2 different lists.
Correct, actually. Right. That's very good. You can't take Vlad 1 and then I'm not even sure if you can take Vlad 2. I think you can. I
can't remember
now. Not sure, didn't do it, so I don't I'm gonna feign ignorance on that.
Right.
But I had to remember little niggling things like, well, I actually didn't remember, so all I thought, I'll tell you about that in a second. So all I knew was Behemoth. And so, so he just goes, just bring 2 lists. He didn't even tell me Iron Gauntlet was 3 lists because he misinterpreted it. He thought when you won you had to bring a third list, and he's like, well, Rafe's not going to win, so I'm not going to tell him about the third list.
Right.
That posed a problem on the third day, and a person helped me out, but I won't skip ahead to that. So I didn't do any list building, any list tweaking. I didn't do any theory hammer. I didn't read any forums. Instead, what I did was got my travel bag ready to go, which I was pretty anxious about because I knew Romeo had said back in the day that these cases can fly as a carry-on.
Right.
I literally never use carry-on. The only thing I ever use carry-on is a backpack. I never bring a suitcase because I just am anxious about that guy that can't fit his carry-on up above in the overhead. Mm-hmm. Like literally, I get anxious about it. So I'm like, screw it. I'll check my bag. If they lose it, I don't care. Right. I bring all my important stuff in my backpack. So I was nervous about this stupid Battlefield bag fitting, not because of Romeo or would Romeo not tell the truth, but this bag I bought, 5 years ago. So what do I know? Maybe airlines changed the freaking sizes, or maybe I'm going to be in a little puddle jumper and the size is going to be smaller. And the part I was worried about, Russ, was, I've seen people bring carry-ons. Oh, they don't fit in the overhead. What do? You give them to the flight attendants, and what do? They toss it into the belly of the plane.
Right.
But again, I'm like, I can't have my models just tossed into the belly of the plane, even though it was supposed to be a carry-on.
Right.
So I was pretty anxious about that. And what that led to was I had to make sure I could fit my Warmachine pieces, all my tokens, my measuring tapes, everything I needed, my rule books, and a Flames of War army in there too. So it did all fit in my Privateer Press bag.
Battlefield bag, nice.
Yep. And I carried it on the plane. And so I spent a lot of time prepping, and Craig knows how I can get with models and foam, right, Craig?
Yep.
So it's interesting. So you based your list entirely on physical transport capability.
Sort of. What I did was I built my Vlad list that I love playing, my Vlad shooty list, which was actually built by Doc for the team tournament, and which I got to play for fun at TempleCon, and I really liked it.
Cool.
Then I built the second list, and I'm like, I haven't played Sorsh in a long time. The mortar, I don't know. I didn't build it for winning. I just built it going, let me build this stuff in there. And then I sat down and goes, okay, how many trays does this take up? Right. Oops, I can't bring a battle engine and a conquest. Okay, conquest out. What jack do I want to play? So that's how I built my list.
Got it.
So I spent a lot of time with foam, basically.
Nice.
Literally, I would say 3 nights.
Now, did
the first night was taking all my models that I owned, spreading them all out, deciding what list I wanted to build, putting them all into the foam, going, crap, that doesn't fit. So taking it all out again, building another list.
Because you didn't do any real list crafting based on playstyle. Did you have any painting deadlines, or were you pretty much picking from your painting collection?
TempleCon got me ready for painting.
Okay.
I finished a lot for TempleCon. Off the top, I finished a complete unbuilt Ulan's cavalry for TempleCon. So all the horses, all the guys, Iron Fang Ulans. I completed a Iron Fang Covenant, which is just a model. Did you paint them? What's that?
Did you paint them?
Oh, yeah, fully painted.
Okay.
For TempleCon.
No, I know. I'm just saying. One of the many cool things I think about Adepticon is that it's one of the only places in the world you have to have your Warmachine stuff painted.
Yes. And
which I think is awesome for Adepticon.
It's so awesome, and I think it's a reason for what I'm going to get to later.
All right.
A good reason.
So let's get to that later part. So now you're all prepared.
I have to finish this because this was important to me.
Okay.
I Googled, because I want other players to know this. I Googled how to fly with battle foam, or does a battle foam fit? Either my Google foo stinks, I went onto the DACA forums, I went all over the place. This is just, if there's any tips and trades. And there weren't any, and I guess it was because it was zero problem. I brought the battle foam bag on. I didn't even measure it with anything.
Yep.
I brought it on. It fit in the overhead compartment. The models traveled fine. I got there wasn't a broken piece. I did jam some extra foam in you put a big square model in a model in a big square hole that it fits, but it might rattle around a little bit. Mm-hmm. I did stuff that with some extra foam, but the models traveled. So guys out there who are worried about flying, get the battle foam case that they say fits on planes, and you bring it on the plane with you. The only thing I regretted is I wished I had some wheels. That battle foam bag with the shoulder, it's unwieldy, it's square. you're trying to get a Starbucks coffee, it starts to swing around on you. So I did wish I had the wheels, like the little wheelie carts, but then again, I don't know, like, with the wheels, does it fit? I don't know. But anyway, I wished I had that. So
Cool.
That's flying with models was a piece of cake.
Nice. So yeah, and I've had good experiences. I mean, Craig and I both flown with the battle foam and have never had a problem. So it's great.
Check
This is
Dan
with that
does,
bigger case.
carry on.
What's that?
It wasn't the small case. It was the big.
No, I know. I've flown with the big green one actually. And
Yeah. What size? Like, give our listeners some dimensions there. What do you think it is?
I can't remember, but the one. Sort of their default bag, the one that's not branded,
Default bag.
actually
There you
fits in whatever it is. But then also, I've had to check it once too. And I know, Craig, have you checked it also? I've checked mine once.
Oh my gosh, you checked it?
And it survived, yeah.
It did.
Yeah,
It did.
I check mine, but inside other luggage.
Yep, I've done that too. So
yeah.
I've used the small ones, like the Pack 320, the little tiny flat ones, with like, I put that inside a garment bag and stuff before, and it makes it no problem. So yeah, it's truth in advertising. The bags are carry-on size, they survive, and if you've got everything in there the way you're supposed to, the models come out fine on the other side. So,
Yep. Okay.
So you get there. You've signed up now for 3 events. Craig already kind of gave us the lowdown on what happened with his stuff there. But so Raef, what was your first tournament you were going to be in when you got there?
Okay, the first tournament was called the Masters.
Okay.
And you played 4 games. And this was my thought going into it. Again, I had a lot of anxiety in the morning. Mm-hmm. I was looking for ways to bow out of it. I was trying to convince myself that I stunk. I was trying to convince myself that I'd be a poor opponent for the other side. I mean, I really did start to look like a squirrel trying to bolt out a hole here. And then I'm like, dude, like, relax. Like, it's a tournament. You're not going to be killed. So stop it. Like, is what I told myself. I'm like, you're here to be in a tournament. You want to play more competitive play. So what that you don't know all the nuances of the rule? I just was so afraid that my opponent would be like, what do you mean you can't memorize how collateral damage works on a Super Smash?
Right.
Like, I was worried about that kind of stuff. Or I was worried about that I would not understand the mission and just be stupid and look stupid.
Right.
It couldn't have been far from that occurring at all. I showed up. I wasn't nervous anymore. You know how, like, you're nervous, Craig, before a play?
Oh, yeah.
Then, not even when you walk on stage, but at least for me, about 15 minutes before you walk on stage, you're like, well, I'm here. Mm-hmm. It's happening. The curtain's going to open. Let's go. It was like that kind of feeling. So I played in my first tournament, and I also gave myself the excuse to, bail, Russ, to be like, I told Doc, I'm like, hey, if I play 3 games and I'm just getting reamed, and I want to go to dinner with everybody, do I have to stay in? He's like, nope. And I'm like, and if I drop, does it ruin the experience for anybody else? And he's like, nope, they could care less, and people drop all the time.
Oh, cool.
I didn't drop. I loved all of my games. 3rd game in, I couldn't wait to play my 4th.
Nice.
And I was losing every one. I played 12 games. I played in 3 tournaments over 3 days. I lost all of my games except for 1, and I couldn't have had more fun.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So was it just great? I mean, now, one of the things that we used to say about tournaments is, especially in sort of Swiss style tournaments like this, where if you win, the winners play the winners and the losers play the losers. If you're there for more casual play, you kind of want to lose your early games because it puts you down into the pack of folks who are just there to have fun.
I think that's what happened.
Keep winning, you go into the pack of folks who are like taking it a little more seriously. I don't care about what game system is. That's just how it works. And then you get to, and hopefully you get some nice folks, but they're there to win. Whereas in the bottom levels, folks are like, well, I'm not going to win the whole thing now because I lost my first game. So let's just have some fun and play some Warmachine and just chill out. Right. So did it kind of have that playing at the store at home kind of feel, but meeting new people and seeing new painted armies?
No, but everybody was still gracious.
Cool.
So here's my 5 or 6 points on Adepticon tournaments.
Yeah.
At least the opponents I faced.
Yep.
I got what I wanted to get, which was what Craig said earlier. I faced a painted army. Mm-hmm. 2, I faced a prepared opponent who paid attention and wasn't like tweeting. That's the problem with Iron Arena. Nothing wrong with that, but
right.
It's a little looser. They're talking to their friends or eating a hamburger.
Right.
I didn't want that. I wanted to play.
Right.
Number 3, you're on a death clock. Mm-hmm. I love the clock because you're not fooling around. You're playing your game.
Right.
Number 4, my opponents were gracious. Even so much so in a tournament, Russ, where they'd be like, hey, you moved your boom howlers and you forgot to shot them. I'm like, oops. Yay, thanks.
Oh, cool. Very nice.
Shoot the boom howlers,
right.
Granted, I think they knew they had the game in the bag, but
still, right.
Who cares? They let me do it.
Right.
Every opponent I faced was just gracious. Some were pretty competitive, and they played tight, and they made me play tight, but that's what I was there for.
Right.
And Craig, this is what I was ruminating about. I think might have even been Dave who said this. I think the reason that the players were so enjoyable to play, yes, I was in the losers bracket. That's part of it, but I think it's because you have to be fully painted. So you're not going to get these net list builders that like run out, buy all the metal, stick them on a base, and then go, deal with my 8 8 colossals.
Right. So right, they got to be passionate enough to. Now, how was the painting? Was it really nice? Were you admiring the models?
Really
the
nice.
Of the game? Oh, great, awesome.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. There was no like, oh, these are my 3 colors.
Right.
Everything was painted. Everything was based. I faced some armies that were like crystal brush level, painting on the Scorn beasts, and I took a picture of one. I'll post it. It was unbelievable.
Nice.
Unbelievable level of painting.
That's great. I'm glad to see that awesome. That the Warmachine community has gotten to that level, because it's one of the beautiful things about the games that have been around so long, like Games Workshop, where you get the levels of painting that is unbelievable. So it's nice to see that Warmachine's gotten there finally too, which is great. Yeah,
and I didn't see any like kind of page 5 antics either. It was really organized and gracious, and again, maybe it was just, but I faced a lot of opponents, man. I faced 12 opponents.
Right.
And not one of them acted like a dickhead.
Nice. Awesome. That's awesome.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to ask you as we run out of time here. So you're the most interesting game tournament name I thought that I saw, and there was a couple pictures posted on Facebook from friend of the show Stubbs and other folks. Was it the old man tournament? What they call it? The mature tournament, where you had to be over. Was it over 40 to play?
Yeah, this is so cool. Okay,
right.
This is a real thing. It is called the Senior Pro Tour. That's the legit name, which that's a cool name in of itself.
Right.
But those of us in it also call it the old man tourney.
Right.
So what this is there was a gentleman there in connection with Stubbs, and his name is Carl. And Carl said, "Hey, I want to play Warmachine. I want to play competitively. I used to play competitively, but I've got a job, family, life, older. My memory stinks. I can't play like these younger kids can and play 100 games.
These little whippersnappers here playing 24/7. I can't be
exactly.
that guy. Right.
Exactly.
Right. Get off
so
my
he
lawn.
created this concept, and I guess got Privateer Press to make it a real sanctioned event.
Oh my God, it's a real. Is this only at Adepticon, or is this a thing that's happening elsewhere?
They had it at TempleCon too. I just couldn't play in it.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
It's a real sanctioned event.
Okay.
So it was run by a Privateer Press judge.
Yep.
Just like the ones we had there for the other tourneys. And you do have to be over 40. They're not joking.
Right.
So here's what I mean about
39 doesn't work? 39 and a half? Nope, you're out.
No. So,
do they check your driver's license?
They said they would, because here's how that happened. So we got there ready to form up to play, and it sounded like we're going to be a little light. And I said, hey, I do have a couple buddies. They're pretty cool, and they can play if we need extra players. And they're like, well, they over 40? And I said this to the judge, not to Stubbs or anybody. And they're like, nope, got to be over 40. And I was like, that's kind of cool.
Right.
Like, they're not fooling around.
Right.
And so I played Menoth John, and in a battle. He was super psyched about that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Painting with Menoth John, and got to see Stubbs. Stubbs came in second. He wanted to win. And by the way, my most competitive game was in the Senior Pro Tour.
Really?
Like that guy, the guy I faced round 1, he was playing to win.
Yep.
And so it wasn't that we were just all jawing and not paying attention. Right. We were competitive, but we were competitive at the Senior Pro Tour level.
Right. So was it, did it feel different playing all people your age?
It really did.
Or did it feel the same as the rest of the weekend? It just happened to be called over 40?
No, it really felt different.
Why was it? What can you describe what made it feel different?
Kind of like the ambiance of the player. So like when you're in the Masters Tour, you're just in this room with 180, people or however many people, and you got all these people next to you and stuff, and like the conversations to the side of you, and like in the Senior Pro Tour, I heard a lot of things like this. Oh, dude, I forgot to allocate my focus. The other player, oh my God, yeah, go ahead. This is the Senior Pro Tour. Like that.
Right. But you're allowed to be forgetful. I forgot my pants this morning. These things happen.
It wasn't that the other person didn't want to win. Stubbs was there to win,
right.
And actually, I had been beaten so many times. This was the last tournament.
You were like, now I'm going to win one, right?
Right. I showed up and I'm like, okay, enough fooling around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to win. Now, by the way, a lot of reasons why I lost was I think I played my Vlad list once. For whatever reason, I'm like, I'm having so much fun. I played Sorsha a bunch of times. I played Butcher, who I hate. I do not like playing Butcher.
Now how did you end up with Butcher? Did you bring Butcher, or did someone let you borrow Butcher?
I did bring Butcher by mistake. That's where Doc kind of messed up the rules. Mm-hmm. So in the list of the I had to play the 3.
Right.
I actually played Erusk. That's a whole other story I'll get to maybe another time. But anywho, I just knew to bring a bunch of casters. So I had Butcher, and I built a Butcher list for the Senior Pro Tour, which I hated, and I hated playing it. But anywho, I played it for the 3 times. So there was a feel. We wanted to win, but we're like, yeah, if you forget your focus, you forget your focus. But maybe that didn't happen in the later rounds.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
But I played all my games.
Nice. So it sounds like you had a lot of fun.
Yes.
So did it take up 3 tournaments is a lot. That's a lot. I mean, 12 games, that's a lot of games. Were you able to stay, focused the whole time? Were you really engaged the whole time?
Yeah. I'm a little bit surprised by that. So let me tell you how I did that. And maybe it sounds a little corny, but I think it was the secret to my success.
And when you say success, you mean losing every game?
No, I'm sorry. I mean about not wanting to bail at game 2.
Okay, good. Just want to be clear.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
So we went to bed late. There was a lot of late nights, maybe 1 a.m., 2 a.m. So it wasn't that we went to bed at 9. But Doc and I got up in the morning and we did about 35 to 40 minutes of yoga in the room before we started for the tournament.
Oh.
There's nothing odd about that at all.
Right. I'm
sure most of those hotel rooms were yoga palaces at
friendly.
That time of every day.
Craig, yoga is very common now.
Clearly it's making a resurgence in Chicago.
Little resting dog.
I'm sorry, I'm teasing. Move on.
Owl stretching.
To be honest with you, I did it for the back. I wanted my back to be loose, so we did a lot
I
of
can
back.
understand.
Yeah, sure.
Backward.
Right.
So I credited it to the yoga. I'm not joking.
Right.
The other thing we did was we prepared to be in the room the whole day. So we had the right kind of travel trays that we needed. Yep. We stuffed our bags full of bananas, oranges, granola bars, water, little package of M&Ms. So we didn't need lunch. Peanut butter. I had that nut butter that's like in the little packets. Justin's Justin's almond butter. We had those. So we prepped our bags with food to kind of lightly snack throughout the day, and I think that kept my and I strategically bought iced coffee. Dave brought me one time at like 2, and so I think by eating and drinking enough water and doing the stretching, I swear I believe that's what it was. I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to keep playing game after game after game after game.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah,
As a matter of fact,
go ahead.
Russ, you might even just notice this with all the weight you lost. Matt Alex ordered a pulled pork sandwich. Andy's like, hey, Matt Alex ordered it. He didn't want it. You want to eat it. I ate it, and I was like instantly carbohydrate tired.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that the next day. I'm like, no more sandwiches.
You think maybe you were meat drunk?
Meat drunk. That's a big burger. I'm having these visions now, Rafe, though, of like, you mentioned the senior tournament. I remember these visions now, like 20 years from now, when we're at the real senior pro tour.
Yep.
And we're talking about how Battle Foam's got these new attachments for our walkers that carry the little dudes from table to table. That'd be awesome.
That will be awesome.
It will be awesome. We'll be there doing it.
I can't wait to do. The next senior pro tour is going to be at Captain Con, I believe.
Oh, sweet. Awesome.
Right around the corner.
Right around the corner. And local, too. See, I got to go to this. This is fun.
So you'll have to go to that, Russ.
Yeah, I think I have to do that. Awesome, Rafe. Well, that sounds like you had a great time. Now, so let me ask you this. Would you do that many? So next year, if you're going to Adepticon or a similar venue like Captain Con, would you do 3 tournaments again where you had that much game schedule? You would?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, I should say this. The 4th tournament, which was Flames of War, so I played Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all tournament playing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't change a thing. Loved it. Great. Sunday, Matt and I were in the Flames of War tournament. We had a couple issues with our lists. We thought it was late wars, mid war. We didn't have the books. Anyway, we both looked at each other and I'm like, hey, I'll play if you want to play. I'm having a blast playing tournaments, but if you want to bail, I'll bail. And Matt and I looked at each other and we're like,
bail.
You know what? Let's take a break.
Yeah.
That was the right move. I'm very glad I did not play in the Flames of War tournament.
Yeah. Would have been too much. Just
It was too much. I was ready to let my hair down and not have my day planned for me.
Understood.
Oh,
great.
That's one more thing I want to say. It was nice. Our group kind of mills around a lot and has a lot of like indecision and like looking around at things. And for whatever reason, I enjoyed not that. It was like I knew when I had to show up. I knew when I had to wake up. I knew when I had to eat breakfast. You know what I mean? It was I didn't have to do any of the thinking. It was all there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that was nice.
Well, Rafe, I think it's awesome that you were able to, schedule that big of an event and do it and nail it and get it all done and participate in everything and had a fun time. That's awesome.
It was
I think it's pretty amazing because it shows really how successful Privateer Press has been. I mean, we can remember just a few years ago when Hank and the guys came on the show to make that announcement.
Right.
That, and Andrew was, their front man working at infiltrating the whole thing. And I think it's pretty impressive that they've gone from that to multiple. I mean, what tournaments were there that Privateer Press did that you weren't a part of?
Oh my gosh, yeah, Craig. They had hardcore tournaments. They had mixed. They had what was called the spell draft tournaments. They had tournaments running 24 hours a day.
They had the all night ones.
They do
too,
that.
Right? Yeah,
I just wasn't in those other ones because of the time.
Well, that's probably smart. So you were in 4 tournaments playing 12 games, and you still weren't in like half the tournaments that were there.
Right. I don't think I wasn't.
That's for the young whippersnappers.
That's right. There's little kids that are still on my lawn.
They had one that sounded fun where you switch your lists. So Russ brings his list, I bring mine, and then I play Russ's list.
That's kind of awesome.
Wow.
I always wanted to try that. That seems like a cool idea.
They have one where you switch casters.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
I credit it to Adepticon. They've created a forum. They've created an organization to allow all of our games, Privateer Press, Warhammer, Blood Bowl, all of it to thrive.
Yep.
Right.
And I think the painting is critical to that, to bringing out the true hobby competitive gamer.
Well, they've done a great job of, back when everybody played Games Workshop, they became the tournament that really knew how to do that right.
Yep.
And they've managed to translate the very best of what they sort of built up for that one hobby game and translate it to all the other hobby games. And it's just really an impressive feat. And they should be really proud of that there. I still think that if you're a miniature gamer, there really is no better event for you than Adepticon. It just is such a pinnacle of miniature gaming experience. And on that note, we're going to take a break and we're going to hear from Hollywood in his own segment and Total Fangirl. And then later, we're going to talk a great deal about the rest of Adepticon. We'll learn about the painting competitions and all the other vendors and all that other stuff.
The rest of the con.
The rest of the story. Page 2.
This is Total Fangirl. Regular Jane most days, Total Fangirl when the moment strikes. Han shot first. Starbuck is a guy. And Lestat, now there's a vampire. Hey everyone, this is Nicole, your Total Fangirl. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicole Wakeland and check out my blog, TotalFangirl.com. And our shout out this week is, as usual, to all of our wonderful supporters at Patreon. Head to patreon.com/the D6 Generation and you too can support the show. So I brought somebody back that I haven't had on the podcast I'm going to be all New England, in a wicked long time. And I brought her back because I missed her. I needed an excuse to talk to her, pretty much. So, Riley, welcome back to the show.
Yay, thank you. Oh my God, I miss talking to you so much.
I know. Okay, guys, so the segment is 5 minutes long, but I'm looking at our Skype conversation, 41 minutes, 58 seconds, and we've just hit the record button.
Okay, but we had a lot to catch up on.
We did. So. Yeah. And now she has a little boy, and there's family. She's a mom, and we're both moms. We have a whole new thing going on now.
There's a brand new, I did a whole bunch of stuff while I was gone.
Yes, all these things happened.
I got married, I got a baby.
It was major life changes. But now she's back into nerddom and back into her thing. And so I was it's time to have Riley back on the show and to talk nerdy stuff. And one of the things that we used to talk about all the time was The Walking Dead. Zombies' brains.
Our favorite.
Our favorite. But guess what? It's not so much our favorite anymore. And
well, zombies in general.
What, are not your favorite or just?
No, definitely still a favorite.
Yeah, see, I'm still about the zombies, but The Walking Dead, now, and I never read it. You've read every piece of material to read ever. Haven't you read everything on The Walking Dead?
You know what? I stopped reading. I think I got to book 6 and then, fiance and babies and
checked out. Now you read about little caterpillars. So you've read more than me because I've only read this one, like the first, I don't know, giant omnibus that's like 2 inches thick. I read that one. My husband's friend Chris loaned it to me and I read it. And then I've seen the show and I was so super into the show. And I think you were too when it first started.
Yeah, when it first started, I was, it's so cool to see like the actual characters that, you've really gotten wrapped up into being portrayed in real life. Well, in live action.
In live action with real humans. Yeah. Exactly. And I think, and for me, it was just cool because even not having read all through it, I just loved the story. I thought it was really interesting and like, how did this happen and where are they going to go with this and what are these people going to do and who's going to survive and who's going to die. And somehow it has taken a turn officially with this season. I think I watched the very first episode of this season and I have not watched any of it. For crying out loud, I paid for it. I bought it like on Xbox Video. I've watched one episode because I just was like, no, I can't do it anymore. It's just it's like the most Debbie Downer of all shows. Not like it was uplifting before, but it's not. But you've watched the rest of the season, right?
I can't. You know what? I'm like embarrassed. Yes, I have. I continue to watch it. And every season, Nicole, I'm like, this is it. I'm done. I'm done with this show. And then I take a break and I calm down.
And
then they bring the show back and I was like, all right, I'll just try just this one episode. And then the whole episode will suck. This is their like MO. The entire episode will be awful. It's like Lifetime meets zombies. And I don't care. And everyone's just talking and sitting around and making terrible decisions. And like the last like 3 minutes, there'll be something amazing that happens. I'm like, oh, next week looks awesome.
And then you think it's going to pick up with that 3 minutes of amazing and it's back to the Lifetime zombie show.
Yeah, every week. And it's like, I don't learn.
See, I checked out. I was watching in the afternoon. Kids are at school.
You're so strong.
And I was like, I am done. And I like put the remote down, turn off the TV. I'm like, no. And then it came up in my little thing, like, you have new episodes to watch. And I'm like, I am not watching it. And then I went totally the opposite direction. You know what I watched instead? Because I'm going to share this addiction. I watched Downton Abbey instead of the zombie show.
That's an excellent, I sat through all of Downton Abbey. Like, I'm pretty sure I was watching My Child at the time, but I watched the whole season in like 2 sittings.
See, and that's when I gave up on zombies, and then I went to the Crowley family and Downton Abbey instead. So
I don't care what anybody says. Yes, they're a bunch of uppity, like English to-dos. It's the best the best drama series I've ever watched ever.
I even got my kids to watch it, but here's the funny thing. Okay. It was bored one day and I'm like, I'm watching Downton Abbey because can I watch with you? I'm thinking, yeah, sure. There's nothing horrible on this show. It's not like watching The Walking Dead. So we're watching it and there's a dog. Are you all caught up with it on Downton?
I am. Yeah.
Okay. So spoilers, people, there's a dog and he's sick and then we're watching it and then my oldest daughter's like, if that dog dies, I'm going to be really mad. I'm like, people and pets, people haven't died recently, thinking the dog's days are numbered. Rose is like, no.
No, they hit on some pretty big stuff though. I mean, there was, what's her face banged that guy until he died.
Some
There's like
Lady Mary. I know it's like they're more scandalous. They make us
like
look
a
really
rapey scene. Yeah, there's like some serious stuff going on in that show.
Scandal, and now it only has one more season.
Oh, and then that's it?
That's it. So they have 9, I believe I've read that it's 9 more episodes for everything to get all wrapped up because all their contracts are up and some people want to stay, but some people are going other directions. Like, well, we can lose a character here or there, but if the entire Crawley family is not there, it's kind of hard to have Downton Abbey without the people that live there. So.
Oh, yeah. See, why am I going to come on this show and you're just going to give me bad news?
I'm sorry.
That's terrible.
I'm sorry. I'll give you more bad news. Is Falling Skies still on? I think that's still on the air too. So there you go.
Don't stop. So, all right, now I've been part of Geek Girls in what, like 2 years? 3 years?
Yes. Riley was part of, we were Geek Girls Network back in the day and Falling Skies came out when we were doing that.
Yes. And they were like, the network, TNT?
I think TNT. Yes, that feels right.
They were, I'm going to call it harassment because we were getting DVDs in the mail like left and right. And I think we even wrote a couple articles like this is the worst show and like all of the sci-fi that we've ever seen that MST3K could pick up. Like MST3K wouldn't even want to play the show.
It's like too bad for MST3K. Yes, that was where we were.
And then I still get in the mail. I'm not kidding. Still get in the mail addressed to GGN. And I'm like, you guys don't even know like what publications are even out there anymore, and you're sending stuff to me.
God. I get email every time I see something come up, like, and I find out that it's still around because I pay no attention to it all. I'm like, man, how is that still on the air? How is that continuing to go? Downton Abbey's going and we're getting season 852 of Falling Skies. It's wrong.
I don't know a single person that actually watches the show.
No, I don't either. I know people who watched it in the beginning. In fact, I know guys who listen on the show were like, I ripped on this once before, and they're like, I really like Falling Skies. I'm like, good on you. But they watched it. But I don't know anybody who actually still watches it.
No, nope.
I think everyone.
And I didn't even know it was on until I started getting stuff in the mail again.
Yeah, you're like, here's my harassment packages again. Time for Falling Skies to re-up for the year.
I'm seriously taking out a court order against them.
You need to find a way to get on the Downton Abbey mailing list. And have you? I don't know, what would they send you? Cute little DVDs wrapped in white doilies or something?
Oh, maybe. Oh my God.
And packets of tea. Do you know there's Downton Abbey tea?
Are you serious?
I kid you not. I was out for breakfast this morning, and like it's one of those, the ones that come in those sort of like cylinders, the little tins that are like maybe 3 inches tall. They sell them like everywhere. Anyway, and I look at them like, I swear to God, that's, Lord Grantham. That is Lord Grantham. What the heck? The Crawleys are on tea. And it's like 4 different kinds of Downton Abbey tea. I have so much tea. I don't know what to do with them. Like, I can't buy those. I have so stinking much tea.
That's so cool. I didn't know that.
I kind of want to buy it just so I can, pretend that I'm one of the Crawleys. And the maid has delivered me tea. I'm going to put it.
We'll speak next time I'm on, we'll speak in proper accents.
Really bad proper accents, and we'll have cups of tea with doilies.
We will.
There has to be a little white doily.
I'll try and pull my best Violet Crawley, because she's like the badass of old proper ladies.
She is. She's the most wonderful, sarcastic old proper lady. I want to be like her when I get to be that age. I want to be the one that stirs up trouble and is like, I don't care. I'm 85 years old. What you gonna do? So, Downton Abbey, we both love. Falling Skies, we both hate. And The Walking Dead, you're going along just like a zombie. No. You can't give up on it.
But I don't love it. It's
there. It's like that cookie that sits there and you're like, well, the cookie's sitting there. I can't leave one cookie. I'll eat it. It's like, The Walking Dead is there. I might as well watch it.
No, it's like Stockholm Syndrome, I think. Is that terrible to say?
That's even better. You're being held hostage by Rick Grimes and a bunch of zombies.
I think I was. Like, I had this duty to watch the show because I was such a fan of the comic.
Okay.
And now I just feel bad, so I'm going to keep watching
You're going to keep watching? Oh, see, you're making me, did I miss anything? How many episodes in? I saw the first episode when the season just restarted. How many episodes are there now? Like 5 or something?
Yeah, I think there's 5 or 6. Oh, there's one on tonight.
Okay. And you're missing it.
I know.
It's all my evil plan comes together.
I feel like I don't want to watch it. I do. I feel bad. Like, and Joe and I will be like, we're not going to even talk about this. Like, we're going to do something else tonight.
And you're going to watch
it. Okay, let's just watch it.
I triple dog dare. You're not going to do it. I was going to say I'll triple dog dare you to not watch it. I bet you could not watch this week and totally be fine with it. You'd be like, oh, so-and-so died. Moving on. Like, there will be no actual story that will happen.
I don't know, because last week was actually a really good episode. A whole bunch of main characters died.
You are not. Wait a minute. Okay, spoilers for anybody who's watched Walking Dead, because I'm going to ask you a question. So spoilers, if you watch it and you don't want to know, is Pizza Boy dead?
Pizza Boy.
The guy, I always called him Pizza Boy. The Asian guy. Oh God, he was the pizza delivery guy.
Oh, Glenn. No, he's still alive.
Okay, then I don't care who died. As long as Glenn, is Daryl still alive?
He's still alive.
Okay, then I'm good. I don't care. I know all I need to know. I don't need to watch any of the episodes.
Okay, well, the new cast, like a bunch of those people died.
That's okay.
Oh, and then Carol, totally threatened this little kid, with death to his family.
Yeah, I saw this meme on the internet, Carol was this horrible, awful, everyone's like, forget Daryl, she is the one to fear. I'm like,
she's amazing.
She's crazy.
She's amazing. I would watch it just for her now.
Okay, well, you go watch her Walking Dead. I'm gonna go make myself a hot chocolate and not watch The Walking Dead, and I'm gonna have a Girl Scout cookie. I'm gonna have a tag along. You enjoy watching your blood and guts and brains. Well, I
probably won't, but I'm going to anyway.
Kristen, I'm so glad we chatted, and I'm so glad you're back into nerdiness, and even though you're still addicted to The Walking Dead. So.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, tell everyone where they can find all of your nerdiness, Kristen.
All right, I am on the Twitters at Riley Geek. I have a website, rileygeek.wordpress.com, but I'm not updating it because now I'm writing for Nerd Approved. So you can see all of my cool nerdy things and fashion stuff. Every week.
You can find both of us there, where we own Nerd Approved. No, we don't own Nerd Approved. I just mean we both white for it right now. Sean's going to be
totally ruling it.
We're ruling it. Our editor doesn't know that, but whatever. Okay, everyone. Thank you for joining us, Riley, and everyone. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Hey, and now it's time to talk about our friends at GeekNationTours.com, right, Craig?
Howdy, folks.
Exactly right. Geek Nation Tours, my favorite con of theirs actually is Gen Con because, well, I get to be there with the tours, which is cool.
That's right.
And, Craig, we had such a blast last year at Gen Con. I just want to really tell you guys how much fun it is to come to Gen Con on a Geek Nation tour and how Terrace elevates it because we get the privilege of participating in the Geek Nation tour as if we were tour members, even though we're not, just because we get to interact with you guys. So it's great because the very first night they're there, they do the big dinner, which last year was at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, which was fantastic.
Phenomenal.
My
food.
best meal of the weekend, bar none. It was
By
awesome.
far.
It was so much fun to sit there and talk with the various tour members, many of whom were your listeners. It was great to get to meet you and share a meal with you. It was awesome. And not only that, though, I get to hang out with Garrett Wang and other great people who are all, the local Gen Con celebrities and VIPs were there as well. Members of Gen Con themselves kind of tell us how to get ready for the weekend. It was just so much fun.
Terrace has so many connections.
Really does.
And really leverages them all to make just the absolute coolest trip you could possibly imagine. And then make sure that you're not going to miss anything. And if there's anywhere you need help doing that, it's at Gen Con where there's just so much going on. You have to go in knowing you're going to miss stuff. But if you go in with Geek Nation Tours, you know you're not going to miss the really cool stuff. And you've got to jump on quick because there are deadlines coming up and they've only got a few slots left.
That's right. And they even extend it to me. You get the best 4 days of gaming. No, how about 5 days of gaming? He extends it into Wednesday with the Kentucky Fried Gamers. It is fantastic stuff. You really cannot miss out on a wonderful time here in Indianapolis this year. So check it out. Head on over to GeekNationTours.com and click on upcoming tours to check out the Gen Con tour and all their other fantastic adventures.
Absolutely.
I'm Rafe, Hollywood Granger, and this is the Hollywood Minute.
Welcome to another edition of the Hollywood Minute. I'm your host, Rafe Hollywood Granger. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on the D6G Hollywood.com or the D6G Hollywood on Twitter. Now, on to the Hollywood Minute. Okay, folks, sit back, relax, grab your favorite beverage of choice. Mine right now, on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in New England, is a Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee with milk and sugar. First, we're going to cover everything that I couldn't pack into the show, basically. So it's going to be a bunch. It's going to be a bunch. As you can tell, I'm excited. I'm tripping over my own words. Okay, first, let's talk about a little bit more about tournament play that I was really nervous about, that I want to share with you guys, that I wasn't able to share on the show, or the Lost Chapter. So the travel bags were not the only thing that I was upset about. If you want to hear about travel bags, that's in the Lost Chapter. The other thing that I found super interesting was I had bought one of those trays that you can get, carry trays, tournament trays with all the circles cut out. I didn't have the drawers underneath. I wish I did. The tray was fine. Beautiful. No complaints. However, bringing 2 lists, and I'm Cador, in 3 lists, I couldn't fit everything on the tray. There was not a hole or a circle for everything. And you really do need your Army transport tray to move around between sessions. You don't have time to go digging around in your bag. I mean, I suppose if you had your battle foam bags with your foam, kind of preloaded to be your exact Army, that would be one way to do it. But what I found the most interesting and the most effective was people seem to go to Target or Walmart, buy those kind of faux wooden or wooden trays that you would buy that they sell in the springtime to, go out from your dining room to your deck to carry, utensils and cups and stuff. And then they would put little drawer liners, kind of like super thin, rubbery, grippy stuff that go in drawers. And people just put their models in there. And frankly, I think that's the way to do it going forward. You don't have to worry about any circles. It fits. If you're a Crix player, I don't know what you do. Doc had to carry two trays, and what he used was like paper box tops to carry his stuff. Now, granted, you can't exactly fly with that kind of stuff. So I saw many of the people with the constructed movie trays, 2 levels, and that seemed to work. I also seen people with the drawers underneath, and that was pretty handy because for mine, I just had the tray with no drawers. And definitely the token management was a problem because you didn't want to scoop up all your tokens and just dump them into your big token. So I kind of had this multiple Ziploc bag situation going on, and I would just use my cargo pockets on my pants, which again works, but wasn't the most effective. So I think for my next tournament, I would do a little bit more prep in my token management and tournament carrying management just to smooth down that transition. And I wanted to throw that tip out there because I didn't get to talk about it. Okay. Also, I want to just thank the D6G listeners / fans that came up and expressed how they loved the show and how they missed me on the show and how they love me on the show and how they listen when I'm on the show. I just want to say I super appreciate that. It's really nice to think after all these years that I don't appear regularly that people still want to come up and say hi, and I'm very humbled by that. I want to send out some special thanks to Carl, who, as listeners might recall, I met him, you won't recall this, but I met him playing the poker fun tournament at Adepticon, and he said, "Hey, I'm the guy who was that listener that wrote in on a contest where he had taken his then girlfriend, might even have been fiance, on a weekend trip, and in the trunk was some gaming stuff that he had purchased before. It was just in the trunk, and then it was on the way, and she had gotten really angry that it was even in the trunk." And I said, "I do remember that submission." He goes, "Oh, well, that was me, and she's no longer my girlfriend," which I thought was really smart. But the great thing about Carl is we were seated at the poker table, and I was very nervous again because I hadn't played Hold'em poker in a really long time, and I was really afraid of just goofing up and looking stupid. He sat next to me, and clearly he has been playing more recently, and so he just made me comfortable just in his way of playing and talking and stuff, and I didn't express I was nervous or anything, but I just want to thank Carl, and we were silently joking together because there was a gentleman at the table that I didn't know that seemed to have some sort of migraine or some sort of instant headache over one eye, and he was kind of putting ice on it and cooling down his neck. I mean, he looked terrible. And he had the biggest pile of chips. And so Carl kind of leaned over and looked at me and, kind of said, wonder what's going on over there. I hadn't even thought of that. I don't know how that gentleman, A, fared with his migraine, or B, I don't think he was faking. I just think the two were connected, but I don't know. Maybe I'm naive. And Carl came down and said hi again after when Craig was running board game night. Also want to thank John of Muse on Minis, and John is he goes way back. He listens to the show, and he's really it's humble to when he meets me, and he's just like, "Raef, I just love the show so much," and so I'm just humbled by that. And he's running a very successful company now. If you haven't checked out, John didn't ask me to do this. This is not a plug that he asked for, but he really has made very quality tokens that a gamer wants to see. And recently he was gracious, and I went to go buy his templates, his 3-inch templates, his 4-inch templates, and his 5-inch templates. I mean, it kind of reminds me of Doc from Discount Games. I can't buy anything from Doc, and John's the same way. He's like, "Nope, here you go, Raef." I appreciate the show. It's what led me to his show, is what he says, and so I'll just thank you, John, publicly. And the templates are awesome, so you definitely, if you haven't, checked them out. And they're really beautiful, the wood templates, if you paint them up. So I'm going to look forward to doing that, too, like I said, to get my token management a little better on my next tournament. And next on the list is Adam Pitzer. Adam was a real yeoman. He's been a fan of the show for a really long time. We knew Adam way back in the day when he was with the New Jersey SOBs. We would regularly see Adam during TempleCons, But Adam came out to Adepticon because he lives out that way now, and it was really awesome because he had a car. There's many occasions that he drove us places, both me and Craig and Dave and Matt and Andy, and he was just there to help and have a good time. And he introduced this game that is like Crimes Against Humanities, but it's more nerd-based and you use superheroes. I cannot remember that name of the game, but it was really fun and a lot lighter than Crimes Against Humanity, which was Adam's sort of concept. He's like, it's hard to play in all settings, and he was right about that. So thanks again, Adam. And I'd also like to thank a name you might not have heard in a little bit of a while, Angelo from La Quinta. The La Quinta team set me up with a beautiful hotel outside outside of Chicago at the Schaumburg location, and the staff was super nice, super friendly, great hotel room. The manager had a really super nice welcome basket there, which was fun. And I really am impressed with the La Quinta chain. I stay in a lot of them, especially the newer ones. If you see in a Yelp review or something that a La Quinta's been rehabbed, then you know that it's going to be really, really nice. And again, they're just so affordable. So I want to give a shout out and a thanks. Angelo, if you're listening, you and Marcia on your team, thanks so much. I appreciate all the stays, which enables us to bring the gaming goodness out into the world. So thank you. And then there is Stubbs. So Stubbs is, again, part of the SOBs, and I'd seen him at, TempleCon, but I didn't get a chance to hang out. Well, he and I got, a brief half an hour worth of hanging out during the Old Man Tourney, the Senior Pro Tour for Privateer Press. It was good to see him. He even gave me some tournament advice, and it was just great to catch up and see him. And he had placed second in the Old Man Tourney. And also give a shout out to Menoth John, who has a painting podcast and has also listened to the show. And he was actually my last opponent in the Senior Pro Tour, and it was a really gracious and fun opponent. Had a beautifully painted troll blood army that really killed me. Now, time for my thoughts on the D&D 5th edition review. So I was listening to Owen in the third chair, and Owen is an excellent third chair. Maybe like 6 degrees below me, but that's pretty high. I give him high praise. And that was as if Russ would give him half a second to talk. I think Russ had a Red Bull mixed with, I don't know, 3 Red Bulls, I guess is all I can say. He was talking a mile a minute. Poor Owen couldn't get a word in edgewise. But back to D&D 5th. So speaking of Russ, I actually agree with Russ's side of the coin with the books being, quote, too academic. Owen and Craig have an opinion that the books are a little on the academic side, and I'm not. That's an excellent point and excellent opinion. I'm more on Russ's side, though. I don't find them to be that academic. Maybe it's just because I'm so engrossed in D&D that I don't realize it, and it comes like second nature, but I think if you're a newbie to role-playing, you can go ahead and start with this edition. I do agree with the lads on the show that this is the greatest edition of D&D. It's kind of like the greatest generation. This is the greatest edition. And if you're a newbie, I think if you just start with the Player's Handbook, that's fine. I think it can be your first role-playing game. Do I think it's the first role-playing game for, 8 to 15-year-olds run by a 12-year-old DM? No. There's probably easier intro games for them. Do I think 12 and 15-year-olds can handle it? Totally. So, anywho, I don't think, if you heard that and go, I'm new to role-playing, I don't know that I should check it out. No, my 2 cents, my Rafe Hollywood Granger 2 cents is go ahead and pick it up. Newbies jump on board. The other thing that I thought I wanted to add to it is that if you're light on funds, you don't need the 3 books. And I'm not saying the guys on the show said you did, but when I was listening to the show, I was kind of thinking back. I'm like, the Player's Handbook is so awesome that that's all you really need. And you don't need the Monsters Manual. I'm sure you can get the free PDF of the basic monsters, and actually the supplements that they put out to run campaigns have the monsters in there, some of them. So the Player's Handbook is really all you start. Is your critical next buy the Monsters Manual? Yes. And then your last critical buy would be the, DM's Guide. So feel free, jump in, grab that Player's Handbook. It is awesome. And lastly, I just have to give a public mention to the creators of the Horde of the Dragon Queen. I mean, it's the greatest supplement I've ever read, or campaign that I've ever read. As a GM, I often read these supplements, take a few bits and pieces, and then create my own world. Well, they've just thought of everything. It scales well. You've heard me say all that before. So the credits go out to Kobold Press designers Wolfgang Bauer and Steve Winter, the editor Miranda Horner. Can't forget the artists, illustrators Aaron Hubrick, Tyler Jacobson, Guido Kipp, Marcel Mercado, and Brian Sim. And how cool is this? Cartographer Jared Blando. And I would also give shout-outs to Mike Merles and Jeremy Crawford, who are the lead chief head honchos of D&D, and they are clearly doing a good job in finding the right talent and overseeing the stewardness of the D&D universe very well, in my humble opinion. You know, after listening to the boys run the D&D 5th episode, I just, like I tweeted out, sat the next morning and read the Player's Handbook and caught up on some classes that I had skimmed over before, and it was just great stuff. So don't hesitate, dive into D&D 5e. All right, well, that'll do it. A pretty good chunk of a Hollywood Minute, I think. Feel free to follow me on the D6G Hollywood.com and the D6G Hollywood on Twitter. I did a reading of Batman just for fun. I uploaded the link. I don't have it uploaded in iTunes yet. I'm going to wait and see if I read 4 or 5 of them, and then I'll refigure out how to get things up on iTunes again. But you should be able to find the link to at least listen to it in your web browser. And yeah, I think that's it. So, hey, until next time, happy gaming.
This is the Dice Tower Network at Dicetowernetwork.com.
Hey, welcome back. Now, you've heard about tournaments, but really Adepticon really is all about tournaments, but there's so much more to see and do at Adepticon, and this year was featuring all kinds of cool stuff, including a brandy new venue, as well as a bunch of other stuff, and I just wanted to grill Rafe and Craig on all the other things they saw at Adepticon beyond the tournaments. What happened, what it was like, how the new venue was. So let's start with that. I mean, that's got to be the first thing you notice is, A, it's a different spot, and B, is it better, worse, or the same? So what did you guys think of the new venue at Adepticon?
I'll go first.
I would say I'm going to go first.
You go first. Wow.
I would say, well, it was intriguing for me because I had no concept of what we were moving into. I thought it was going to be in the middle of Chicago. I thought it was going to be like your brain kind of latches onto what you're used to. So in my head, I had sort of a smaller version of the Indianapolis Convention Center. You know, the Indianapolis Convention Center is right in the middle of downtown. I kind of had that impression. And so I figured all the hotels would be super close by. And so my impression as we drove in that night was it's actually in a really big, sprawling, sort of industrial / business center. So everything is far away from each other. You need a car. But when you get there, it's very much a destination location. Mm-hmm. The outside architecture is very cool. It sort of rises up out of the middle of nowhere. It's got this really cool sweeping arch thing in front of it, or arc, not arch because it doesn't go up and down, but that almost reminded me a little bit about of the main square at the Vatican for some reason. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of, you can see it's two unique entities. It's the hotel that really rises up to 12 or more stories. I think it goes up to 14 or 16. And then off to the side is a big giant wing of the convention center. And they're connected by like a sky bridge kind of thing. But, well, it's weird. It's interesting. It's actually just a big giant hallway, but it's 2 stories tall. And on the ground floor, you're just in the hallway and it's all glass fronted on one side. And then the second story, connecting the second story of the convention center to the second story of the hotel, is a bridge, but it goes through the middle of the big 2-story hall that the other hallway is in. It's kind of hard. I don't think I did a very good job explaining it, but it's neat because as you go, you're on this bridge. You can look down at all the cool stuff that's going on in the big hall that connects the two bigger buildings. and there's all kinds of demos. That's where the smaller skirmish game companies who didn't have a place in the vendor hall would set up their stuff. And so there's always something going on. The big parade of 40K team army displays was put in this big, huge hall.
Wow.
So like it used to be, haphazard wherever you might find them in the big gaming hall. And there was just this big giant hall, and it was all roped off so they could put their displays. It was like a museum. It was really, really cool. And it felt like, to me, Gen Con light once you got inside, because it was just like giant convention hall after giant convention hall.
Oh, wow.
Big halls, small halls. Some of, smaller ones were for classrooms where they were teaching painting. The 40K hall really, kind of reminded me of that first 2008 Gen Con vendor hall when Rafe and I first walked in.
Yep.
It was that big. The vendor hall at Gen Con now is in a totally different area of the brand new part of the convention center and is enormous. But this room was giant, and if I hadn't been to Gen Con, I would have thought this was like probably the biggest room I'd ever been in. And it was 90% of it was set up for, well, there was 40K, and then all of the Wild West Exodus was in there, and the unfortunately named 28mm Pirate naval combat game was in there. I tweeted, without Russ there, I felt an obligation, and I tweeted at danger of losing my job, because I was, never mind, not really, just kidding. I tweeted all kinds of pictures. I leveraged that 4 pictures per tweet technology. I wasn't doing video. Rafe was even delving into the tweeting video now, which was Russ's big thing that he was looking forward to. But it was just enormous. It was 40K for as far as the eye could see, and then the vendor hall. Actually, they had this really cool ability that the other place, I don't know if it had it or not, but these enormous, like it had to be like a 3-story ceiling, and these huge portable walls moved in and could close off the vendor hall side of the vendor hall side of this big hall at night when they closed down. So the size of it was huge. Everybody was spread out, and that's from the rapid fire segment. I was talking to Hank, and he's like, I don't know why people are everybody's saying that it's smaller, and they're nervous. And I was like, well, is it smaller? Cause he's like, no, it's not smaller. We've got more people. We're going to break all the records, but everybody thinks it is because nobody's thinking about how much bigger we moved here because it's bigger. It was very frustrating.
That's good. Cause you want to feel like it's not big. You want to feel like it's intimate.
And that's exactly how I felt. I was never like jam packed. It was, much more room in the 40K room anyway, where most of my experience was back when I did the team tournament. And you were like constantly bumping into people and trying to move your trays around or your big giant display cases, and so there was a lot more room.
Now, did they have anything you felt that was like they couldn't have done this in the old location? Were they able to offer?
Well, the parade of display bases for the team tournament.
That's cool.
Couldn't have all been in one place.
Right.
Could anything that they couldn't have done? I don't think it's a question of this place had something that was particularly unique other than just more space. It's a much higher class place.
Yeah.
So, the hotel, like I think I was the only one in our group who was staying in the actual hotel. The hotel was insane. Like a very odd, only a ritzy hotel could have this kind of bizarre, very, inopportune setup. So you got to go take your luggage up an escalator to get to the place where you check in and all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah.
The giant fireplace section was just crazy. I felt like I was in a ski lodge because it was really a giant sunken conversation area with all these super comfy couches and little tables and chairs around this big huge fire pit with a big chimney swoop thing at the top, and like I said, there were water features everywhere, like fountains and waterfalls, and there was a restaurant, and there were several restaurants, but there was one main restaurant on the main hall. On the main second floor area, which is where all this other stuff was, and there was a Starbucks. And they weren't walled off, but they were separated out by these cool bead and shimmery cloth curtains.
Oh, well,
cool. that were really, really cool. And of course, Dave proved that you could go through them if you really wanted to.
Yeah, that was always fun to do.
Yeah.
I kept being asked, what do you think of the new venue? I'm like, huh? I didn't pay attention because I hadn't been to Adepticon in a million years. Right. So I reiterate everything Craig said, but it felt spacious. In my tournament room, there was lots of room. The Starbucks was way, way, way less of a walk than anything in Gen Con. Mm-hmm. That was key when you're trying to, get coffee in between games. I had a meal in the restaurant the first night because the Nerd Herders this was Wednesday before Craig arrived. The Nerd Herders had a gig with Terrace of Geek Nation Tours where it was kind of a dinner and they were D&D'ing some 40K roleplay, which is pretty cool. And they invited me, but I didn't want to crash that. So I went to the bar and I had a blast. Number one, I realized I hadn't been by myself with my own thoughts for probably 90 days or something. Right. So I was just me, a book to read, like a gaming book, and I had a great Caesar salad. And I bring that up because normally I'm like, oh great, I'm going to pay $35 for a simple Caesar salad with chicken. Nope, $12. So I was like, wow, this place is awesome. Nice. And I had a couple martinis. And that was fun.
That's always good. Martinis and Caesar salad. What a way to end the evening.
Yeah, I would have to say that the new venue was a huge, huge hit.
Great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would definitely go there again.
Good. Well, I'm glad they made the move then. It sounds awesome. So
I'll tell you too, game-wise, since I played in the tournament, you weren't butt to butt. I mean, there was plenty of room. I mean, you're side next to your neighbor. There's not
it's
a sideboard.
You're all,
Well, that's another problem you usually get, and I think they had this problem with the old venue a little bit when they had so many people in that one room. Actually started getting a little hot.
Yep,
did you have any temperature issues or anything? No, good. All right.
Nope, wasn't claustrophobic.
Great.
None of that.
So good. See, that's all important because
Hank did a good job.
You're paying a lot of money. As a gamer, you're paying a lot of money. I mean, you're not going there to lounge about. Obviously, you're going there to be very active and do things. I say active. I mean active in the gamer sense. Obviously, not active in the athletic sense because we're gamers. But
I did yoga.
I'm sure
you did yoga.
Well, okay. But I'm just thinking about it does get. You want it to be comfortable. You're paying a lot of money to be there. You spend a lot of time to travel there. So you want it to be an enjoyable weekend. So it's nice that they've got a good venue there, which is really, really great. So Rafe, you got there on Wednesday, right?
Yes.
So what kind of things? We already know about your tournament activities. What kind of things did you do? Before the real big stuff hit on a Wednesday night there and into Thursday.
Well, I guess I should say, too, one more add-on I didn't even think about the hotel location or the convention location was with a very quick, left out of the parking lot, you instantly were in a bunch of different type of eateries. And not TGIF type of eateries, nothing wrong with that, but I mean quick. There was a bagel place, there was a neat-looking pizza place, there was a Dunkin' Donuts, and so it looked like a lot of quick, affordable and different kind of food options, which I thought was pretty cool.
So no problem.
As well as lots of, Chicago eateries that looked local to Chicago.
So I want to ask that question because I've been to conventions where they're right in the middle of, downtown and it's easy to get to all kinds of great food like Gen Con. And then I've also been to conventions in the, middle of nowhere, Vermont, which was a fantastic convention and beautiful lake setting, but you couldn't, unless you went to the convention place, there was no food for 20 miles.
This was like the perfect blend of both because they didn't seem to be super crowded either. Mm-hmm. Again, maybe it wasn't. I didn't notice it because I'm playing a tournament which started at 9 and ended at 8. Mm-hmm. So maybe I wasn't trying to get food during crunch time. But But you asked me what we did Wednesday. Well, I'll tell you, our first tournament started Thursday morning. So we arrived Wednesday. Like I said, the Nerd Herders, I kind of traveled in with them. His crew ended up being late because one of the wives had to work late, so they couldn't leave because there's a baby at home kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So Doc didn't get into midnight. So I just chilled by myself and kind of got a good ease of the con, had a good night's sleep, and we were up and at it. I think it was, registration at 9 and dice rolling at 10. So I was just sleep yoga, con mode, go.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And then, Craig, what did you think about the food? I mean, were you cool with the options too?
Yeah. I would just say that the one thing that I think the old place had over this place for ease of access was that you had a mall right there within easy walking distance with a whole food court. You had that really nice breakfast place. Egg Harbor was in there.
Yeah,
and then
no walking, right?
Potentially within walking distance, you had some really nice sort of local places you could go also. Other than that, you needed a car. At this place, you really need a car. But once you establish that, okay, you're going to need a car, you're not going to be able to, fly in, take a shuttle, and then stay the whole weekend. You're going to need a car. But once you have it, there was all kinds of. We went to Petrello. I can't remember the name.
I can't remember either.
Portello's, the hot dog place.
Yeah.
We went to Luminati's for pizza.
It's not called that,
there's
but close to that.
What's that?
We kept calling it that, but that's not what it's called.
It's Luminati's. Luminati's.
Not
it's not
Luminati's.
Illuminati. It's Luminati.
All right.
But anyway, so there was all kinds of I would at 100. We went to an awesome pancake place for breakfast.
Oh, I love the
that
Wildberry.
last day. This Wildberry. It's Sunday, and we met
That
Rafe
place
and
was
Doc
packed
there,
on Sunday.
and their friend whose name escapes me. What was his name?
Who? Where? My friends?
Doc's friend. Yeah.
Oh, Tyler and
Tyler.
Jason. Oh, Jason didn't come. So it was just Tyler.
Yeah, it was Tyler. That was the longest wait of the whole weekend. Actually, was
Yes.
that pancake breakfast? But
And
it was
that wasn't
well worth
Gamers
it.
Russ. That was just Sunday morning breakfast.
Although there were some civilians there playing Ticket to Ride on their phone, which I thought was awesome.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a lot of food options, but you need a car.
All right, so we've established that the new venue's great.
Yeah.
Good food, good comfort, lots of space, awesome. We've already heard about the tournaments, but now I want to dive into another big thing about Adepticon is that Adepticon has established itself as a premier miniature gaming convention, and as such, lots and lots of vendors come there to show off really cool things in and around the miniature gaming hobby, like airbrush vendors and other paints and other kind of cool technologies. But then also you get new games, miniature games in particular, demoed a lot at Adepticon. Yes. I remember I got into even miniature board games. I mean, I remember Zombicide was the game that got me sucked in. The Kickstarter was at the same time. I actually backed it right. It was the first Kickstarter I backed, actually, was based on the demo from Cool Mini or Not. So
at Adepticon, I remember that.
At Adepticon a few years ago.
You actually backed it on your phone from the demo table.
Right. So,
nice.
So what was the hotness this year? What kind of stuff did you guys see for new hotness? Both new games and then also new things for your hobby. I know you guys came back with some really cool new paintbrush things that I hadn't seen before and other cool stuff. So what was the hotness?
I'm going to have to defer to Craig on this one because, again, I was in tournament mode, so I didn't do much of voyeuring.
He actually caught like a glancing blow from the mob mentality, which we'll get to in a second. It's funny because the Nerd Herders guys actually picked me up at the airport. And they were actually late because, again, another Adepticon tradition is the flea market that they have there, where all of the local guys bring all of their gaming crap. And, of course, any gamer knows that one guy's crap is another guy's treasure. Right. And so they were...
You know what my saying is on that, Craig, right?
What's that?
One guy's crap is just another guy's crap. But
that's true, too, and more often than not. But every now and then. But anyway... I mean, there were some amazing deals there if I had any way of getting stuff home. But so they were supposed to come pick me up. My flight was supposed to land at 10:15. Andy heard 10:50. And so he had no sense of urgency. And everybody else, Matt was constantly trying to drag him and Dave out to the car, but they were all getting caught by all the little shiny pretties that they kept seeing all over the place.
Plus, it was so far they had to sleep over.
Yeah, that's true. They had to stop halfway
22
there.
22 miles, people. 22 miles.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think the car died and they had to get a new one.
I think they had to buy a new one. But anyway, so they showed up and they were all, even Matt, the driver, reading this rule book for a skirmish game called Wreck Age. And they were like, oh my God, you're going to buy into this. We're all buying into this. We just dropped hundreds of dollars. It's going to be the coolest thing. I fought it off.
So
Me too.
So let me ask you this. Why were they so excited about Wreck Age? What makes Wreck Age awesome?
No, I have no idea. I didn't even do a demo, to be honest. But what it was they all had skirmish fever. That's what it was.
Skirmish fever.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm getting the story right, the designer was a guy connected to Epic, Craig? Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
And it was post-apocalyptic, and Dave and I are huge fans of post-apocalyptic.
It's Necromunda is what it is.
Yeah. And I think they like the guys.
It's a guy who loves the specialist games and so saw the niche and I mean the models look cool and I'm just not like a post-apocalypse guy. So that's
enough to just be like, I'm diving in.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they were all, they all bought war bands and they bought the rule books and It's like Necromunda / Car Wars. I'm not Car Wars. Mad Max is really what it looks like. And they've got like the design, the cool board that they have to do demos on. And that's another thing. Like a lot of these little companies will like splurge on these awesome demo tables.
Right.
So they have cool little like not even 3x3, like a 2x2 demo table that was right out of it could have been right out of a Mad Max movie.
Yeah.
The problem is that they don't actually have car rules for the game.
Oh.
So it's like they're making car rules. They're making another game that uses cars, but it's like that could have got me in. Like Mad Max, for some reason, post-apocalypse, Mad Max, I'm all set.
Yes.
I'm good to go.
But I have to say, though, I read the first page of the rule book, kind of some of the fluff from Dave's rule book. It was really cool. It was like a really cool first page of fluff.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't do that. And if I had done that, I might have actually got sucked in. But that's like set the tone for the rest of the. Dave got into no less than 4 skirmish games.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I didn't know it was that many.
Wow. It was great. Well, it would have been 4, except that his credit card, the internet kept dropping, and they were like, "Well, you can go to the ATM and get cash." And he was like, "Yeah, I might do that."
Yeah, that must have been Shannon.
And Shannon was
shut
quashing
off.
the credit card.
She was quashing it, exactly.
She reported it stolen. But anyway, so that was Friday night, and they were all like, "Oh, Wreckage!" And if you like post-apocalypse, then definitely check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next day, Saturday night.
Yeah, it's a Kickstarter too. I'm looking at it now.
Is it a Kickstarter? Is it on right now?
It's a Kickstarter.
Well, I don't know. It's called a tabletop miniatures and RPG post-apocalyptic adventure. So I assume this is the same thing.
Yeah,
because it's Wreck Space Age over on Kickstarter. And
yeah, that's it.
As of today, it's already been backed. It's already done. So I don't know when it ended, but they got 99 backers and $10,000.
Well, it's really cool. January 2013.
Yeah, it ended last year. I don't know.
Yeah.
It must be out.
Yeah,
now
that seemed it.
Now they're showing it off at the con. Okay, that makes sense. Cool.
Yeah.
So Wreck Age is one of them.
So Wreck Age is one of them.
Yep.
So that night, I can't even remember who. It wasn't you, Rafe, right? You weren't like Free Blades, but somebody was like, "I want to do the Free Blades demo." So we were like wandering around. I wanted to go check out the 28mm sailing game with the unfortunate name, and
I'm missing the joke on that.
Okay,
something that
if you have children in the car, cover their ears now.
Okay.
The game is called Fistful of Semen.
Oh boy.
Which I'm sure they thought was clever.
Right.
I don't think it's clever, and I could see it coming up as a joke. Like if our group was like, "We're going to do this sailing game. What should we call it?" and Dave would say that.
Yeah, right.
And we would the adults in the room would then go, "No."
Right.
So for some reason there were no adults in there, which is a shame because a ton of time and effort has gone into these amazing tables where they used my idea, by the way, for the overhead fluorescent light fixture thing to make the water. The ships look ridiculous. There's islands with, it looks all right out of Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, it's insane level of detail on all this stuff. And for that to be the name is just unfortunate.
Yeah.
So was the mechanics of the sea game good?
I don't know, because we ended up stopping at the Free Blades table for what we thought was a demo and ended up being a whole game.
So Free Blades. So what is the shtick on this
Blades?
One? Another skirmish game.
This is what I caught on the chin.
Yeah, this is where he got a glancing blow from the skirmish thing.
Okay.
So it's this very small game company called DGS Games.
Yeah.
And it's a fantasy skirmish. Now, I'm far more likely to get sucked into a fantasy skirmish than I am to get sucked into post-apocalypse skirmish.
Okay.
And especially right now, I have no fantasy game like on my horizon.
Right.
It's like unless I like delve into Warmachine, which isn't really fantasy to me, I really have nothing. So this is kind of cool. Now the problem is, and this happens a lot with people who are trying to create their own IP, they define themselves by what they are not.
Right.
So we're not really fantasy. We're not really Tolkien. You know, they're like pushing the what we're not so hard. You're like, you know what? If you were kind of that would be even cooler. But but so there are elves, there are dwarves, but they've got their own names for everybody. And you know, but anyway, It's a really cool rule set. It's a little bit like Gut Shot. You can kind of tell they were going for a role playing aspect. It's one of those things where anything can happen. You can do anything. You can climb a building. You can jump through a window, just like Gut Shot.
Right.
It's pretty simplistic, the rules, but not so simplistic that they're not like cool. There's magic, which is cool. I really like the way the game broke down the activations. You have an initiative each turn. And then basically you move all your guys, I move all my guys. Oh, well, first it's magic. And everybody has a caster available to them. And the casters each have a totally different spell list, but they're all pretty balanced. And you have like 15 power points over the course of the whole game to cast your spells. And, the easy ones cost fewer and the more powerful ones cost more.
Yep.
And whenever you're casting, if the other guy's caster is within 10 inches of the casting model or within 10 inches and line of sight of the result of the spell, they can try to countercast it. So they have to there's a lot of beating the rolls. Like everything's got a target number, and it's very cool because when you're going head to head, your target number is their success. So for instance, if my guy, and it's all the die type is the power. So if I've got a spellcaster who's a D10, I'm rolling a D10 and success is a 2+. 1 is always a failure, but success is a 2+. My problem is if I roll a 2, the guy's countering it on a 2.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So that's kind of cool.
Right.
There's also reactions built in, so it's not nearly as complicated as Infinity. But when you come and charge me, there's a bunch of options I can do. I can run away, but I can also countercharge you, which gives us both the benefits of charging. So I see you coming at me, so I start running at you. You can hold your ground. If there's a guy like within an inch or so of the path of you charging me, I can have another guy intercept you. So it's really kind of a cool maneuvering game where you're trying to maneuver your guys around. So you've got these charge lanes that you can't mess with, basically.
So the rules sound interesting. How are the models?
The models are cool.
Yeah,
The models looked very cool on the demo table. Some of them in the light of day the next day, I don't think quite. I think the range is a bit hit or miss, but some of them are really beautiful, and the ones on the table were really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm on their website now, dgsgames.com, if you want to check them out yourself. Yeah. And I'm with you. I don't want to pick anybody because I think some of what I see here is really, really nice, but not all of them are blowing me away.
No, it's not Infinity.
Right. It's funny you should say that, Craig, too, because when I looked at the display case of the models of the, quote, dwarves, end quote, everything looked really cool and three-dimensional, and there's a guy with a pipe and a guy with a mining axe and all sorts of cool stuff. And then in the light of day in the plane, I'm like, they look kind of thinner or something. Not bad, just...
Well, I think those are going to paint up great. I still think the dwarves were some of the coolest looking.
Okay.
I think the elves, I almost got the dwarves and then 3 other people, because basically what happened, Russ, was the feeding frenzy occurred and we all ended up getting a warband.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't play the skirmish game at all.
Yeah. Well, let me go back to that because that was a lot of fun. My only problem after the demo that turned into a whole game and basically sucked up an hour of our time, which I'm fine with now because I really enjoyed it. My only problem was that although the models all looked cool, they didn't look. It wasn't a unified look to the force. Well, one of them kind of looked barbarianish, but then one of them looked barbarianish, and then there was me. The other 3 were basically, for all intents and purposes, and again going back to the fact that this world is kind of an RPG world that they're trying to create. They all looked like adventuring parties, so there was no unified real. One of them had a unified color scheme, but the models weren't really unified.
Right,
Mine weren't unified.
They don't have factions, though. I mean, they have factions, but they don't have faction looks. Like I'm looking at
No, some of them do. The elves look very unified. The dwarves look very unified. The nomads, basically the Mongols look very unified. There's one that looks awesome that I didn't even think about. Andy grabbed him before I even had a chance to look at him. It's basically a medieval knights faction. And so you have knights and then you have peasants.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
You could paint up the knights to all look like they're from the same order, or like the way they're doing their paint jobs is what's kind of doing it to me, because like the knights all have their own livery, so it's not really a unified. But the models look. I mean, you could easily do.
It's like Bretonia.
I didn't have the. I didn't play the game either, but I didn't have the disunified look. And another interesting thing that that Craig alluded to but didn't pop right out is I'm calling it the Savage World dice system.
Yeah.
So it sounds like your characters will have a D4 stat, a D6 stat, a D8 stat, a D10, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And including, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, Craig, they've created it or they're using like D14,
yes.
a D30,
yeah.
Some other die types, which I thought was kind of interesting.
To me, that was interesting, but it was also frustrating because I didn't realize that until I went to the booth the next day because I was going, I could use my D&D dice. This will be great. And I'm like, I don't have a D14 or a D24. I don't know how many. I mean, they didn't have any of those at the demo table. I don't know how important those are going to be. I think that's mostly when you level up, and God knows our group will never play enough to level up.
I don't know. I'm looking at their website now, and they do sell packs of their unique dice. And
they do.
There is a D14 and a D30 and a D24 here.
Yep.
Yeah, but it was clear that it to me it wasn't like a marketing thing because I didn't.
No. It was. They went like, this is an awesome way to level up guys up.
Right.
And that's what they did.
Okay.
But it was really cool because the game kind of played out the way, and because there were 4 different factions in the demo game that we played. There are 4 different kinds of magic that were going on, and Andy was doing all kinds of fire magic, I think that was Adam was doing fire magic, and Andy was on the other side of the table.
It's supposed to be, well, first of all, the guy who was talking to me, because I didn't play the demo, said what we tried to do, well, first of all, he's like, it comes from the mind of the creator of the game who created, this was like a role-playing world he created years and years ago. And then they tried to take all the things they liked from all the games they liked and made their rule set out of it. So they liked Mordheim, and the guy goes, what was the problem with Mordheim? One person's band would get too strong, and you're playing in a campaign, and it would quash the other player. So we fixed that by, the other warband's going to be, in this game, it's going to be a little stronger, but like if Russ, I won my last game and you didn't, you get to hire sort of like mercenaries that play for you for that one game and then they're gone.
That's cool.
To make it a little bit more equal pointed. Not a little bit more, a lot more, he said.
That sounds pretty cool. So, so would you say that Wreck Age so obviously you guys bought into Free Blades over Wreck Age?
Yeah, well, what happened was, just to highlight one moment in the game that we played, and it also, all the combats break up just like in Lord of the Rings. So everybody will charge in so again, going back to the phase, so it's first magic, then it's movement, you do all your guys, then I do all my guys. Then it's shooting, which is simultaneous, which is cool. So even if you damage my missile person, that missile person's still getting their shot off. So that's simultaneous. And then the combat at the end is everybody's going at once in initiative orders and they break down like that. But the scrums break down so that no combat has both sides having more than one model. So you kind of like break it apart just like in Lord of the Rings. And so it was awesome because Andy charged in with a guy who all of us thought, because of his he had just a very slight accent from somewhere in America, but the demo guy had a very slight accent, and we all thought he was calling this guy the wrestler, this model. And so Andy was trying to get him into hand-to-hand combat and like was chasing Adam's wizard around the board. And finally got him, the wizard's trying to reposition himself and he fails his morale and he's running away. And then finally he makes his morale check, so he just turns and he's like, I'm just gonna take it. And the wrestler that we thought was actually a rustler. He was the guy who you take him so that you get like movement bonuses and stuff because he's good with horses. And so he ran right into the wizard with Andy like, you're the wrestler, bam! And this little winky wizard hits him in the forehead with a staff and he dies. So you're like, ooh, that was bad. Because it breaks you up into there's a leader, then you got heroes, then you got peons, and the peons are kind of peonish. Although they're cool when they're hanging back shooting arrows and stuff. But no, I liked it. I liked it to the point where on Sunday I actually won. They do that huge Wounded Warriors and there was another cause they were raising money for this year. But they do a big Wounded Warriors raffle. And basically all these donated prizes, and it's giant tables full of prizes. And if they draw your card, it's written down on a big board. And I've never won, so I didn't know how it worked until this year. and you get to pick almost anything. Like there's some things like this is the entire Rivet Wars game. You can't pick that. That's like its own prize for the end of the weekend. Right. And this is like everything that we ever did for Zombicide. So you can't pick that. But everything else is like, so I won and I'm like, what do I get? And they're like, anything on this table except for these 3 things. And I was like, oh my God. And you know me. So talk about analysis paralysis. I'm like, okay, so my suitcase is already at 49.5 pounds and I can't fit anything into the D6G banner bag. And so I'm looking at like Dead Zone starters, like a $100 Dead Zone starter or $80. I'm looking at $100, Robotech starter, all kinds of cool stuff. There's one thing that I didn't look at closely enough, which Dave will never forgive me for, but I'll talk about that in a second. And then there was a Free Blades rulebook, and I was like, you know what? I think we're all going to go Free Blades, so I took a $30 rulebook instead of all these giant things. And I wasn't upset with that choice. It was just cool to have won.
Cool.
What I missed was there was a little gift certificate, and what I thought it said was 10 custom heads or 5 custom heads for conversion purposes. I was like, well, that's not a big deal. Then Dave is like, then it went, because I won. Everybody's like, oh my God, we can win. So they all went to look for their tickets. And Dave came over and he hadn't won anything yet. And what they do is they recycle winners if you don't notice. Mm-hmm. So you've really got to keep up with the board. And Dave was going over the table with a fine-tooth comb and saw the gift certificate, picked it up, and it was actually 5 custom heads sculpted for you and 4 of your friends. For like for 28 millimeters, so you could customize your models.
Makes the model look like you.
It makes the model look like you.
That's pretty cool.
Dave was so excited. First of all, he was like, "Return your rule book, and I will buy you one." And I was like, "I can't do that, Dave. I've already picked one." So I don't know if they would have let me or not, but I would have felt skeevy. But Dave's so taken by this idea that now he's shopped this idea around to sculptors that we all know, and it turns out that would cost you about $500 to $700. So I was like, I chose.
Yeah, I missed this whole sculpting.
Yeah, so Dave was like, we would do it, and we would do the 5 of us that are here right now, and it would have been really cool. But
I noticed a huge benefit in, and I'm kind of okay with buying the game, but I'm a little bit like, oh, what happened? Everybody's like, hey, Rafe, how much money did you spend? And I'm like, you know what? Not a thin red dime, because I've been in the tournament thing the whole time.
You made it all weekend, past the dangers.
Yeah, I bought into the game because all those guys were going into a feeding frenzy. I looked at the dwarves and I'm like, you know what? They're unique. So even if I buy them and paint them and put them on my gaming desk, then that's cool.
Right.
I did like the guy.
It's like $35 for a warband.
Yeah,
so.
for a warband.
Okay. It's not bad.
I liked what the guy was pitching. It did sound like a fun thing. I'm like, if it sees the table 3-4 times, then it's like buying a video game, playing it 3-4 times, and then not playing it again.
What Dave said, which is what finally sold me on, I bought 2 factions just in case Russ wants to play with one. And I couldn't decide between 2. Dave's like, picture like we do a 4 by 6 foot board of all of the Dwarven Forge dungeon terrain, and we just like have a big massive skirmish free for all.
That'd be fun.
And that would be awesome.
That would be cool.
So and that's why I should have picked up a dwarf, because that would have been 4 dwarf factions all meeting in the caverns, and that would have been cool. But anyway, so that was my big new thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a new thing that was caught by a bunch of us. I think all of the local guys got at least 1, and many of us got 2 factions. And we'll see if it goes anywhere. I would be disappointed if we don't play it a couple times, because I thought the rules were really cool. At least at the demo.
Will, because it sounds like it has a gut-shotty element to it.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And it says that there's nothing you can't try. And then it gives you in the rule book. I read all the rules on the flight home.
That sounds
had plenty
great.
of time to do that.
So was that all the last of the? See, that's how you go. Was there any other big hotness, or were those the 2 big games that kind of were new there, and was everybody else just established vendors?
Those were no. There were a bunch of new games there, but they really didn't catch my fancy.
Yeah. Right.
Fantasy Flight was there. They were doing demos of all their Star Wars properties.
Mm-hmm. That's smart.
Or not all of the new ones. The card game,
right?
Imperial Assault and Armada, which Rafe already talked about.
Yep.
And Michael was there, so we got a chance.
But you couldn't buy anything there.
No, you couldn't buy anything. But it was all there to play. Reaper Bones is like a totally different experience now because it's, I mean, the Reaper booth because it's all bones.
Oh, right.
So that was crazy. And they actually had a gumball machine.
Yeah.
For $1 you want, and it like you got a little Bones miniature, but every now and then you got a $5 or $10 gift certificate.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was cool. That was a cool thing. The battle board battle that we're talking about was Secret Weapon has, of course, their battle board line. I don't know what they call it, the battlescapes or something.
Yep.
And it started because they got the they got the molds for the Axilis game boards. And they sort of leveraged those into a Kickstarter for 1x1 hard plastic tiles that then lock together to form 4x8 or 4x6 or 3x3. So it's very versatile. And they did a Kickstarter, and I actually jumped in. I was in there for 2 sets, but there were some little shenanigan-y looking things to me about when they were going to fulfill each theme, and they ended up getting like 8 themes, I think.
Right.
And they're very cool looking. They're 1x1 tiles, so I don't know about storage, but they're very cool looking. And they did this like a couple years ago, and so now they have them all. This was the first Adepticon where they actually had them to sell.
Oh.
And then you had Games and Gears, which has been longtime listeners and supporters of our show, and whenever we see Sam, who owns the company, and Craig and the other guys who run their booth, who are actually local guys from Boston. So it's very intriguing. They have got that local connection here because everything they do in America starts in Boston.
Right. They make all kinds of cool modeling supplies.
They make all kinds of cool stuff. And I've always, I mean, Sam's always, he's very, very nice. He's very, very personable. He loves to talk, but I've never really been able to just hang out before. And I hung out with him for a lot. And I hung out with him a lot with Adam, the listener, Adam at some points. And then I hung out with him a lot with Bob, the listener, at other points. And it was very cool learning about his company because, first of all, they've done 2 successful Kickstarters with brushes. And I now know why he does brushes, because his company was and still is a huge makeup manufacturing company. That's where he got his money. And they, of course, with their makeup lines, they do lots of brushes.
Right.
So he learned how to make brushes. It's a very
that's neat.
battle foam story.
You're right. So a miniature gamer made brushes for makeup, and now he makes brushes for painting. That's cool.
And he was like, you know what? I can't find any brushes that I like. So he started making his own brushes.
So I missed this table. So which table and guy is this?
Right up front. They didn't have a lot left to show you because they literally ran out of all but 5 of the things they brought to sell. They sold out of everything.
What's the company name?
Games and Gears.
Oh, the Games and Gears guys.
Games and
okay.
Gears,
They had so anyway.
I like the double-ended brushes.
Yeah, the double-ended
I'm
brushes
on their website
cool.
now, which is gamesandgears.co.uk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have really cool brush holders. They look like the kind of racks you'd mount samurai swords in.
Exactly. And that is kind of the theme of all their brush line.
Yeah.
And so it's just like Battle Foam. He made his own brushes. He wasn't marketing them. He was just painting with them at a local store. And somebody was like, oh my God, that's awesome. I want one. He's like, okay, I'll make you up some. And then it just exploded into this new thing. His company also makes statues. And this is just totally random that I thought was fascinating and he thought was no big deal. His company, the Games and Gears, the mother company that he owns, actually makes the statues for the Emmys.
Oh, wow.
And he dropped that like, well, we do it's like a TV thing, the Emmys. And I was like, oh my God. And, I like TV. I that whole culture is very intriguing to me. And he was like, I guess it's a big deal. I don't own a TV. Like, what? He's like, well, I own a TV, but I don't, and I don't have cable or whatever it is in England. So I don't really, watch it. Should I like what? I don't really watch TV. I was oh my God.
He makes the actual Emmy Awards and he doesn't watch television.
Exactly. And so
crazy.
I was like, you have to understand some of the most famous people in the world, whether or not they, actually deserve to be famous, but have your statues in their living rooms.
Right.
And he's like, oh yeah, I guess. Yeah, I can. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Like this is foreign to me.
That's awesome. Well, now I really want to try his paintbrushes.
Yeah. Well, the coolest paintbrush that he introduced me to that I have one now, and you had to get the Adepticon, commemorative set to get it. It doesn't have bristles as a brush. It has a very, very fine silicone like tip,
Right.
and it's for eyes and lettering and stuff because it never frays and it holds just a tiny, fine little bit of paint.
Yeah, there's actually no bristles, right? They're just like
there's no
little,
bristles.
Like,
it's just
nylon
one silicone
nub,
point,
if you will. Yeah, right. Or silicone, right? That's really cool.
Yeah, so I can't wait to use that.
Yeah, you gotta let me know how that works out because I might have to end up buying one of those.
Oh, I absolutely will. And full disclosure, I did do his Kickstarter. I felt that his Kickstarter, I knew exactly what I was getting and when. And then a typhoon hit his factory in China. So that all got set back. But like he was very upfront about if you want this theme, it's going to come in on that day. But then you want this theme, it's going to come in on that. So you knew it was going to be staggered, whereas the other one really didn't look like it was going to be staggered unless you really looked for the information. Right. But and I mean, those are great guys, and we love them, and I have all kinds of secret weapon stuff. So I don't want to diss their company. It's just the battle. I really like the 2x the Games and Gears ones are 2x2.
Right.
And so I was able to I got the 28 millimeter urban board and they come pre-painted, which is key.
Right.
So I'm going to grime it up a little bit, but the roads and the lines and everything for the roads are already all painted on the boards, which is cool. Of course, now with Planetfall, I was like, oh, I really want because he makes a 10 millimeter board that was actually designed for Drop Zone Commander.
Right.
And so we've been getting updates, of course, from the Kickstarter, and they were like, well, we're going to have a couple extra. So if you really want, so I was like, hey, Sam, what are the chances that I could get what, and so I think I'm going to be able to buy one of those also and maybe even get it a little early so I can take some pictures and we can play some Planetfall on that too. So
yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that was very cool. And of course I've got all these ridiculous buildings that I bought now. So
nice.
So yeah, so that was awesome. The Bones was cool. The crystal brush was insane.
Oh yeah, that was mad.
As it always is.
Yeah, the painting was fantastic.
We knew who the winner was going to, or I thought I knew who the winner was going to be from the moment I started looking at the models. There was a scratch built, and if you check my Twitter feed, if you haven't seen pictures of this thing yet, a scratch built Crimson Fist Terminator from 40K with Daniel Craig's face.
Right.
Like actual, I mean, it was insane.
And he was, how tall was this piece?
It was like,
it looked like a bust size. Or
yeah, it was like 8 inches tall. Right. It was the full model. He had a combi plasma gun in one hand. I mean, the depth of the blue armor was, I've never even seen that in a model before. And then the damage, each little individual little chink of damage that he painted on there. And then the freehand design on the cloak on the back was like an actual full scene from a 40K scene. I mean, it was unbelievable. But there were a lot of gorgeous models. There was very cool for me because this is the first year that there's been some real contenders for Crystal Brush that were Wild West Exodus models. So that was cool.
Very cool.
What else?
I didn't get to see any of that. I only saw Craig's picture.
And the Muson Minis guys were awesome.
Yeah, I remember Crystal Brush. I remember going through and just looking at it that couple years I was there.
It's just crazy. Talk about the whole week feeling inadequate.
Yeah, it's just amazing. So we're running out of time, but I just want to make sure. Did the vendor presence feel about the same? Was Mantic still there? You mentioned
Mantic was there.
Was Gale Force 9
they
there?
Had
Battlefront?
Two awesome displays.
Yep.
I mean, the Mars attacks Mars attacking the White House was just phenomenal. And then they had like this huge, awesome kind of like launch pad warehouse looking thing for Dead Zone. That was really cool. Also, I'm trying to think. I mean, there were a bunch of people.
I got to see John from Muson Minis because he's a Warmachine fan, and it's nice to see his company doing well. Another kind of like the story Craig just told Sam, another person who's a gamer, and he's like, you know what? I need these tokens to do this, that, and the other. But he jumped in with 3 feet, and he's like built this huge token line and game aid line, and it's perfect. It's good to see them doing well.
Yeah, and he's a really nice guy too.
Super nice, yeah.
And he's also because he's producing and our little talk about Adepticon would not be complete without talking in a little more depth about Squirrel or Die. So John at the Muson Minis booth is like, oh, you guys have to do me a favor and try this game. And it's killing me that I can't remember Semi or Sebi. I think it's Semi. I don't know, but he was a really nice guy. And he's like, yeah, sure. I'll do it. Yeah, I can demo you my game. And the game is a very quick game. Like Russ said, he'll put it on at the end of the show. You can listen to it literally takes 6 to 10 minutes to play the whole game all the way through. And they're just these wooden tiles, and the tiles are either food that a squirrel would eat or a trap that you would kill a squirrel with. And then there's just 4 sort of random event tiles. And what you're doing is you're slowly building out this 5x5 grid where eventually you're going to see every tile face up at one point, but then they're all going to end up face down and you won't know where they are except for the ones you're placing. And then you just go through picking the tiles up. 3 deaths and you're dead. You're out of the game. Last person last person standing wins, and it's just a really fun, quick memory game. But the theme is so bizarre and funny that just everybody's laughing the whole time you're playing.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's neat.
It's a good memory game. You'd think, oh, another memory game, but it has some twists that make it fun. It's quick, fast, and it's fun.
I really enjoyed it. So, and be sure to listen to the end of the episode for the full recording of Craig playing live. Squirrel or Die.
And he's actually he's got 2 Kickstarters coming up, and it describes those in some great detail. One game is you're an evil overlord with your minions, and you're fighting all the other players who are evil overlords with minions trying to end the world. And the other one is basically the Brady Bunch in Mad Max.
Nice.
So that sounds like it. Knowing this guy as well as I do after sitting at the table with him for 5 minutes or 6 to 10.
So that's about
crazy.
We're running out of time, but guys, sounds like Adepticon was a blast as usual, and even better.
It was awesome. And we shouldn't finish without saying that there were 40K was a huge deal, and they had awesome terrain. Warmachine was a huge deal; they had awesome terrain. But there were other. Every game you could imagine, there was some awesome Flames of War stuff. There was some awesome, what's the 28 or 25 millimeter World War II?
Bolt action?
Bolt action. There was a bolt action. There were 2 bolt action tables there that were built out of Indiana Jones.
Oh, wow.
The submarine pen from Indiana Jones, and then the big airfield from the desert in Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So they were awesome. There was an awesome Viking. I don't know what game they were playing, but there was an awesome Viking table. And then there was some of the Malifaux stuff was just crazy. I tweeted out a picture. There's a nighttime Malifaux scene where the windows, everything that would be lit up is using that paint, that lighting origin painting technique.
Oh, wow.
So it's just crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's like there's nobody who's not getting love at Adepticon miniatures games wise.
It's
just
all
awesome.
painted.
Nice. Yeah, it's just great. The culture there is very cool, very all inclusive. So everything's painted. It's the only place where your Warmachine stuff really has to be painted. There's no throwing down with ugly mini. I mean, it's just everywhere you look, there's some awesome stuff going on as a miniatures painter. And we should not end this without saying that the board game library was now open all weekend long. They had tournaments. They had big. They were run. The sad thing was that they ran out of room because they didn't have the whole venue. There was an accountant convention going on at the same time. But yeah, so the board game stuff was set aside in a kind of a hallway area, and then our board game night was sort of set aside in a hallway area also that was far away from the poker tournament, so we didn't get the poker spillover. The losers usually came through the board game night and stayed, so that's why the board game night wasn't quite as big as it usually is, which is unfortunate, but the poker players always complained about how loud we were anyway, so I'm sure they're happy.
That just goes to tell you that board game's more fun than poker.
That's all I've got to say about that.
So,
well, if it makes you feel any better, Craig, we'll end with I guess the poker numbers were down a lot too.
Oh yeah.
So maybe just a bunch of people left the con, didn't stay.
That could be.
Maybe
they knew they had to take a trek to get back to the airport.
I was going to say the hour ride back to Midway probably was the problem.
That's right. Yeah, and I really had higher hopes for the people of Chicago. They seemed to panic at 2 inches of snow.
Oh, geez. Send emails to Craig Gallant at the D6G. Well, Rafe, thank you so much for joining us this episode. And,
thanks for having me. It was great.
Welcome back.
Always great to have the third chair in the seat. There,
thank you.
The host emeritus in the
Yes, exactly right.
I got a nice beefy Hollywood Minute coming out, too.
Okay, good. That sounds...
Beef and Hollywood Minute.
Sounds fragrant to me. So, Rafe, if people want to catch up with your latest daring do's, where should they go?
The best forum these days is Twitter. The D6G Hollywood on Twitter. And I changed the Jimmy Django name over to the D6GHollywood.com. And I do post a couple things every there and now and again. Like I posted a reading of The Dark Knight Returns that I felt like doing. And so I put that audio link there.
Great.
Oh, cool. You're doing like little audio clips?
Yeah, I had heard Doc had told me 100 years ago there was a guy who was reading Flash comics, an old just for fun. And I was like, I got into my Dark Knight Return kick, and I'm like, what the heck? I'm going to read a section of it. So
cool.
I threw that audio up on the website.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Rafe, and have a good one. And everyone else, until next time.
All right, see you on Tuesday.
Ciao. This edition of Did You Ever Notice is brought to you by all of our fine patrons over at Patreon. That's right, without these folks, this whole thing probably wouldn't be happening anymore. So thanks to you guys for helping support the show, for wanting to be a part of the show. And if you're not a patron and you think you might want to be involved at that level, go ahead on over to patreon.com, look for the D6 Generation, and just check out that ugly video. I'm sure that'll entice you. And today I'd like to thank in particular Cardboard Edison, Luke Brolin, Luke Skur, Marcus, and James Munoz. So thanks, guys, and thanks to everybody who's been helping support the show. Do you ever notice how, while you wander through life, everybody else is wandering through their own life, and it's almost as if everything is happening at the same time to different people at the same... I don't even know what I'm talking about, to be totally honest. I still haven't caught up on my sleep from Adepticon. And then we went right into PattyCon, which was awesome and fantastic, and everybody had a really good time. And even Karen got to play games again, which she hasn't actually been able to play in a really long time. So I was very glad both that she got a chance to play the games, but also that she played games that she likes, and she had a really good time. So she loved Squirrel or Die, which is bizarre. I highly recommend, if you've got the time, just leave the player playing when I'm done. You'll hear the end stuff, and then you'll listen to that play, us play the game at Adepticon. It's one of those games that literally is way more fun than it has any right to be, which is not an insult to the game. It's just a really cool, fun, giggly kind of game. And Karen loved it. Of course, she's really good with memory, and I'm really bad with memory, so she really liked that. But she also got a chance to play Tomb, which longtime listeners will know was the game that almost ended our marriage, because I hate it and she loves it. And we tried to play it, the two of us, and it was like a meltdown scenario, and it was awful. And that's the only thing that we've forbidden each other, is I've forbidden her to play it with me, and that's not going to be a problem because I'm never going to play it again. And she's forbidden me to ever play it ever again. So there you go, which is very funny. At Adepticon, I really wanted to record a lot of the conversations that we had, because they would have been great. I was with Dave, Andy, and Matt, of course, from the Nerd Herders podcast most of the weekend. And so going out to eat with them, and we had different listeners come in. Adam came in, Bob came in. It was Dan came in. We had a lot of fun. But like Dave would come up with these bizarre topics of conversation, and my favorite for the whole weekend, or at the very least the one that I can talk about, was everybody talks about, if you're on a deserted island, what game would you bring, blah blah blah. He's like, okay, if you got to choose one game on the entire planet that you could just pick and every copy would just disappear, it would burn, gone, never come again, what would it be and why? And, it's a very intriguing thought when you start to think about it, and people are, that's dumb, we don't want to talk about that. And I was like, oh no, I what would I choose? And I wasn't really talking, and Dave said, I'll start the ball rolling. And it's very funny, he chose Kingsburg, which is a hugely popular game around here. And of course, people started jumping all over him at the dinner table, and he was like, no, listen. And he had a really good reason. His reason was that he and his wife are very social animals, and they now live in a what do you call those, like very structured community neighborhoods, and so they're constantly doing things with all of their neighbors now. And Dave has managed to get game nights into these neighborly events, except that they were comfortable for some reason with Kingsburg, or his wife really enjoyed Kingsburg enough. So Kingsburg basically is as deep as they will ever go, and they won't ever play anything else, because whenever he's like, yeah, Kingsburg's great, but why don't we play something else? They're like, no, we like Kingsburg. So he wanted to destroy it so that he could widen, not because he didn't like the game, but because he wanted to widen that game night experience, which was intriguing. And no one else had a good enough reason to destroy any games. But when I came right down to it, I destroyed 2. I didn't have a good reason either, but I was like, you know what? Everybody thought I would pick Agricola. I have no problem avoiding Agricola, so I don't see any reason to burn it to the ground. But I thought that was just a really funny element. And so I guess I started this, did you ever notice? Because today was last year, I think I talked about it too. It was the big Easter egg hunt at my wife's work, the really, really ritzy restaurant, Tuscan Kitchen. If you're ever in New Hampshire, check it out. And they do all kinds of great community outreach stuff, including this big giant Easter egg hunt. They put over 2,000 Easter eggs out, and they were all gone in less than 10 minutes. And they had to change their own rules from 10 per kid to 8 per kid, because there were so many of the local community kids that had shown up. And Reese, of course, loved it and had a blast. And so, Karen's work schedule actually allowed her to be with us this time, which was good, because I'm not very good in those situations. And so the 3 of us were standing there, and we were waiting for, Karen's best friend is actually, she started as a waitress like Karen and now runs the entire, property. There's 2 different businesses in one property. So, I mean, she's really, really skyrocketed. So it's fun to watch her be in charge of these big things. And so we waited, and then she was like, ready, go. And everybody, all the kids are like running around getting the Easter eggs, and it's lots of little kids and a couple bigger kids. And they had some gold eggs, and they were like, look for the gold eggs. We hid those really well. They've got a cool little extra present inside them. And Karen knew what it was, but she didn't say anything. We couldn't find a gold egg to save our lives, but that's fine. I mean, Reese is 4. He doesn't care. He's like, I want a gold egg. We were fine. What I then saw was a grown-up look around, and they were all hidden higher up. This grown-up just went up and grabbed 3 of the golden eggs. 3 of them. I didn't even see a kid. I'm sure they were there with a kid. And then popped them all open and was disappointed that each one only had a gift certificate for a free gelato, which, if you've ever had gelato, you know that ice cream sucks. That's basically all I've got to say on that topic. And the gelato that they have, and if you're having gelato in America, there's a 50 to 80% chance that it's not actually gelato, it's just ice cream. But this place has real gelato. And it's not a cheap place, so that's like a $3 to $4 gift certificate. And the woman literally, oh, gelato. This one's just gelato too. Oh, they're just gelato. They must just be gelato. Like, and how much did you pay to get in? Anyway, so that frustrated me. And then anybody who got there late at all, their little kids didn't get any eggs. So Reese got his 8 eggs, and he was like, okay, now we're going to go see the Easter Bunny. And we went towards where the Easter Bunny was on the other building, and we came across 2 little kids, and these little girls didn't have any eggs. They hadn't found any, and this really, really nice man had one from one of his kids' baskets, and so went and put it in the snow. Yes, we still have snow. Put it in a big snowbank for this little girl. I was like, hey, look there. And while it was almost like inevitable as you watched it, there was a grandmother, had to be a grandmother, who was doing her best to make sure her grandchild had a good day, saw this egg, like the only egg unclaimed in the entire world at this point, sitting in a snowbank. And while they're trying to coax this tiny little girl to go get the egg, this grandmother comes swooping in, kind of like blinders on, and sort of willfully doesn't hear the people saying, no, grabs it and runs. So I was like, I don't know how to deal with this. But then my wife, who's awesome, was like, hey, Reese, that little girl doesn't have one. Do you want to give her one? And he was like, no. And then my wife was like, no, Reese, like, she doesn't have any, how would you feel? And he was like, oh, okay. And he waddled over. He doesn't waddle anymore, but he toddled over and gave her an egg. And he was just it was a great moment. And the grandmother of the little girl who had been trying to get her to pick up was like, let's put it in a tree. And I was like, no. Let's just do the exchange right here so nobody can swoop in. And they were like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. So, I mean, it was great. It was such a nice thing for the company to do. It was so nice for most of the people. And then, so like a year or 2 years ago, I would have been fuming at these people, the golden egg taker or the old lady who snagged the egg out of the snow. But then, this is mainly because of my wife. She's like, well, they're just trying to make their kids, event be the best it can be too. And I was like, oh God, seeing the other side's point of view is so hard, but it's true. And so I found myself, my heart grew 3 sizes today. I mean, maybe not. And maybe it's only temporary, but, it was just a thought that I had. So between PattyCon and this, it ended up being double the did you ever notice that I was expecting. So I am really sorry that I just rambled on. Our recording schedule got all screwed up because of technical difficulties. I'm recording at almost midnight on a Sunday, so I'm going to feel this all day tomorrow. And I think I just I'm on autopilot and I'm just talking. And look, I just did it again for almost a full minute. So I think that's about all I've got to say about that. Thanks for listening and good night.
Achievement unlocked! You've made it to the end of another D6 Generation episode, the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by either emailing us at info@the d6generation.com or by posting in our official D6G episode thread at the top of the DACA discussions forum on DACA.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening and happy gaming.
The theme from Total Fangirl comes from the soundtrack of The Last Night on Earth, the zombie game, courtesy of Flying Frog Productions, and is a composition of Mary Beth Magalanes.
All right, so so we are sitting down to do it's not a demo. We've done a demo. We're going to do a whole game of Squirrel or Die. And at the table with me is Craig, me, you know me by voice. And then there's Dave from the Nerd Herders podcast.
Hello.
And then there's Matt from the Nerd Herders podcast.
Hello.
And then there's listener Dan.
Hello.
He's got an eBay shirt on. And the designer of the game.
Hi.
Whose name is
Seppi.
Seppi. I forgot. I apologize.
That's okay.
Seppi is going to be watching us, so no pressure on me as I try to teach the game based on the rules and the one demo that we took.
And Craig's hands are shaking.
They are. I get a little nervous. All right. So we have the first rule is you got to figure out who goes first. It's the person who looks most like a squirrel. Matt has by far the most facial hair. So we've got Matt. So it is a tile game. We've got 25 tiles. There's food, there's ways that a squirrel can die, and there's a couple different events that might occur over the course of the game. And each of us has a hand of 3 tiles to start. And there's 4 tiles and a 2x2 grid in the middle. Right now we're starting with 2 different deaths. There's a squirrel trap and some squirrel poison and some food, and then there's 1 face down tile. The whole point of the game is that you're trying to create patterns on the board as you place your tiles. Eventually all the tiles will be face down, and then you have to remember where you put the good stuff and the bad stuff, or try to figure out where other people might have put good stuff or bad stuff as you pull tiles. 3 deaths and you're dead, and then there's events that might occur that are on the little thing. Anybody have any questions?
So it's like a fun version of the memory that I play with my kids.
Exactly. And you can actually play it, Seppi says, as a memory game also. It worked. It's designed to be that way. So they're matching. There's different the tiles match, which is awesome. Seppi, for some reason, is refusing to talk. So, but he is here. We promise you. He's very excited. All right. So, Matt, you're going to have the first turn. So there's a really cool cloth bag that we've got.
How do you feel about that, Matt?
The cloth bag? I haven't felt it yet. I don't know. Oh, okay.
Okay. So the first thing that happens is a tile falls out of the bag and into the yard. Matt, always face up. Matt is going to place that anywhere, and then he's going to replace any of these tiles with one of his tiles. His tile goes down face down. Okay, so food, an acorn fell into the backyard. He's placing it. Okay. He is. Exactly. The game works on so many different levels. He has taken food away from the yard now and replaced it with a face-down tile. Okay, now that's you. Now you've got that. Okay, so Dan, oh, wait.
Dan second.
Okay, it's an event tile.
That was a squirrel noise, I think.
Squirrels fall in love. And this means basically it's a free life. We all have 3 lives, like I said, 3 lives in your dead, 3 deaths in your dead. If you are lucky enough to find love in the wintertime, it counts as an extra life. Okay, Dan, where's the love go? Okay, and we are building a 5x5 grid, so we can if you have the ability to lock it in so that your memory trick can start working, that's good. You can only replace face-up tiles. So he's taking some food, leaving the love. Okay. And
my guess is Craig is going to take the love.
Take the love. Falling out of the sky is a noose. That's squirrel death. I'm going to lock in. So we've got 5 across there, and I am going to take squirrel love.
Seppi, is there a squirrel chucker like from the YouTube videos?
No, but that's a good expansion idea.
Love it. Love it.
That idea patented by Dave Farr. All rights reserved.
All right. So now it is Dave's turn. Dave, there's sleeping. Let's see what that says. The sleepy... Oh, you miss a turn. Wow, good instinct.
Matt smart.
Okay, so Dave must place the sleepy squirrel face up. All right, he's starting to try to build the up and down axis, and then you're going to replace one of the face up tiles with one of your face down tiles. There we go. There you go.
No, that's a power tile.
I didn't know I could take the one I put down.
You can take any of the face.
I've made a critical error.
A critical beginner error. Okay, falling down from the sky is a peanut. Matt now places the peanut. Matt is not going for fleshing out the axis. And he replaces. Okay.
So now we're locked into this because we have 5.
Yes, we are locked into the lengthwise, left, right for us. Up, down is still loose because there's only 3. And another death trap falls down. Dan has to place that. He places it next to the first death trap, looking for patterns. Yeah, and then he takes some food. All right. Falling out of the trees for me is a flower, sunflower, if you will. I'm gonna put that there. And I'm going to replace it. I'm going to take a death and replace it with one of my tiles. So now it's Dave, ready? Falling out of the blue. Oh, it's cherries.
Cherries. It's not a cherry bomb.
It is not a cherry bomb. Cherry bomb. Okay, Dave again refusing to lock the game into an axis. Okay.
It's very important to remember that you shouldn't only take good tiles, because if you're a person who hoards food, I'm going to ignore what I've placed and go after everything that you placed.
A little bit of strategy from Seppi. How do you feel about that, Matt?
Sounds good.
Okay. How about you, Dan?
I appreciate that advice. Thank you very much.
It's a totally different game with the designers standing there. Okay, ready? And Matt, last Matt. This is the last tile from the bag.
Could be an onion. Or a rutabaga?
We are still not locked in. All right.
The tulip bulb is the reason that this game exists. Bob, who's one of our partners, planted $200 worth of tulip bulbs in his flower bed. Only 7 of them came up, 3 of those in his yard. He ranted about this for 2 weeks until I make this game, and then he shut up.
There you go. Story behind the game.
Some might say it's the tulips. I say it's the squirrels.
Behind the designer's studio. That's what we just... Okay, so...
Dedicated to him.
There you go. Okay, so now we are continuing going around. After all face-up tiles are gone, each player simply places a tile face down on the board from their hand. So these three are going to stay face up? Is that?
Nope, you're going to finish swapping them out.
Oh, you finish swapping out and then you start placing. Okay, so Dan, you're just going to swap out first.
Take one.
Yep.
I'll take one of these.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Alrighty. Okay. And so now, Matt, you're just going to place one of yours face down until we've got a 5x5 grid.
Now, for listeners at home, I literally have no idea because I have no memory where anything is.
I am awful at memory games, so I'm just here to have fun.
Matt, do you remember every time?
I know where everything is.
He does. Matt actually does.
Nice. I think I might know one or two.
Okay.
Those guys are smart. This is the dumb side of the table.
This is the dumb side of the table by far. By far!
Wait a minute.
All right, now we are just placing our remaining tiles.
Wait, do we have to go from the outside in or anything, or you just take any tile?
You just take any tile when it's your turn. And you can't place diagonally.
For people who don't feel like they remember where they place tiles, if they can cherry pick other people's tiles, that is the great equalizer, because then everybody is guessing.
Oh, that's a good point, too. I'm up. Over to you, Dave. Only 4 left. Okay, so now, Matt, you're going to pull a tile and reveal it.
He went with the one he just put down. Memory called into question.
His claim is questionable.
All right, let's see. Got a peanut. Yes!
Prompting everyone to say, anybody want a peanut?
I get to send this cat towards anybody, and it takes a life. Hey, Matt, we're gonna take a life from Mr. Memory. All right.
All right, I'm going to go with the one that I hope I got. Yay!
Food.
Food.
Oh, jeez.
Also, got a matching
Food.
Go again, right?
All right, now, this is where my memory ends, so I am now going right in the middle of the board and go with boom!
Ooh, a cage, which Seppi will tell you is what kind of death?
An existential death rather than a physical one.
Yes. Give me life or give me... No, wait. No. Give me death or give me my freedom.
Or give me death.
Yeah, something like that. But that's a Braveheart quote.
Take my freedom. No, that's a license plate.
Okay.
Turn. Oh, lovely squirrel. I'm in love. Now you're trying to kill 2 squirrels.
Aw. Don't call me Skippy. I'm going to say this one. Oh, I got a strawberry, I think.
I'll take that.
Oh, I don't get to go. Yeah, go again, and I don't go at all.
Oh, a cat. Oh.
How do you feel about losing your turn, Dan?
This is existentially very difficult for me. You know, he's taking my tile. He's taking my tile.
As did I. I did. Food.
All right. There's 9.
In a memory game, that is a flaw in the design. I'm just going to...
All right.
I remember all the tiles I placed, so now I'm out of those.
There are 10 left.
Well, that's what Seppi said.
Oh!
A cat caught...
I think the cat ate me while I was in the cage.
And here's where I die and lose. Oh, no, I got food. All right.
All right.
Plastic explosives.
That's 2 deaths.
Dan just died twice out of his 3 times.
Oh, it is? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, okay.
All right, hold on. Mid-game report from the designer.
Varmints get plastic explosive.
Sure.
These things happen.
This is a lethal backyard, by the way. I wouldn't let a child play in this backyard.
It's in the yard of the Pentagon.
Because it says, oh, poison, not good.
You're way ahead of the game with 3
Yeah.
Craig's got it in the bag.
We'll see.
Oh, I'm dead.
Death. First death, poison. Dave succumbs to poison.
How do you feel about that, Matt?
Best part of the game.
All right, Matt loses a turn.
Okay.
No, wait. Go twice.
There's only
I'm going to die. I don't know.
Oh, acorn.
He's lucky and good lucky.
All right, here we go. Oh! I got the bear trap. Yeah, the bear trap, squirrel trap.
Only if I have to pull all 3 tiles and their deaths do I lose this game. So I don't care. Yay. Oh, a trap. Oh, no.
That's called gloating.
That's gloating. I don't.
Not good at memory, but good at math.
Oh, Matt's out of the game, and
Because of me. I sent the
we all rigged it.
cat his way. Okay,
Craig,
Dan.
we wanted you to win.
Oh, you're out. It's me. Oh, I survived with 1 life because I found squirrel love.
Does squirrel love always make you win? Seems like a game changer.
Well, no.
It's a game changer, but not always.
If you get the plastic explosives.
The plastic explosive. And the person who got the squirrel love when we did our demo, it's not even a demo. The game is so quick that the demo is the whole game. The person who got squirrel love did not win.
Oh, you know what's funny too? The 3 that we pulled out were good for you.
No, well, you're supposed to. These are the ones that the.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah. So that there's 25.
What can you pull out? These?
What's the bird feeder do?
It's for the alternate game.
Oh.
There's 2. The birdhouse and reverse or die.
Okay.
There's 2 variants that come with the game.
You're looking for the birdhouse?
It starts with the birdhouse, and instead of having to swap tiles, it's more fluid.
Okay.
So it's not as easy for first-time players, but if you played it a few times and you want a more fluid board, then that's what the birdhouse does.
Okay. Oh, Dan.
I got to say, now that I've played this is a game every dog would love.
So awesome. So thank you very much, Seppi, for sitting in.
I'm sorry I stalked my way into your podcast.
But this is awesome because you actually have a couple more games coming out.
I do.
So can you tell us a little bit about these 2 new projects that are coming up? Exactly.
Well, you can get this game, Squirrel or Die, on Muse on Store from the Muse guys. They produce it. Our 2 other projects coming up are Undermine, which is in phase 3 of its beta coming up next month, which is a game about being a supervillain, bossing minions around, trying to be the one who ends the world first. Somebody's going to do it. It should be you.
That's true.
And then our other game is End of the Line, which is post-apocalyptic family survival. Think about the Bradys in Thunderdome. I used to tell people it was The Road, the board game, but then they'd all just look into their laps and not make eye contact with me. So that is why I say it's Brady's Meet Thunderdome.
That's awesome, Seppi. Thank you very much.
No, thank you so much.
And thanks for the demo. It was awesome also. And so there we go. These tiles. This is the first of the production run of the black stained tiles, actually, that we're playing with now. So really, really cool stuff. So thank you. Thanks, you too. And thank you guys. Thank you very much for the Nerd Herders, not only for stepping in when Rafe decided he was hungry, but also with equipment because Russ didn't give me batteries for my recorder. So really this never would have happened without the Nerd Herders. Or Dan, that's true. Dan was necessary and added the dog comment. We'll talk more later. Okay, bye.